and welcome back to the Daru Cooking Show. Welcome back to the Daru Cooking Stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful day today. If you are watching this live, it is currently Sunday. It is December 8th, and I see that we have all of my lovely, incredible sous chefs in the chat today. So, hello to Iliam, hello to Trash Can Cat Mom, hello to Tanaki, hello to Turina Chess, hello to Kaze, hello to Yukonami. It is lovely to have each and every single one of you with me today, and I hope you're all doing well. I'm just enjoying your Sunday today. My chat is acting up a little bit. I don't really know what's going on with it. So if I do happen to miss your messages today, well, I do sincerely apologize. I don't really know what's going on with that. Be patient with me, please and thank you. That'd be very nice of you. Also a good day for Syria. I know this isn't a politics or world event channel, but a brutal man is no longer in power. I see you, Lando. Well, I'm not too familiar with the politics of Syria, so I can't really comment on that. Also, welcome on into Count JP. It is lovely to have you. So, everybody, today we're going to have a really, really exciting stream. We're going to have a lot going on. We're going to be doing 3 different dishes today, and we'll be going through so many different essential culinary fundamentals, my friends. I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be a little bit more ingredient heavy, but the things that I will teach you today, my friends, all the things that I'm teaching you today are going to be so important to have in your culinary arsenal. We're going to be doing 3 different things today. The first, my friends, the star of the show, is a lamb and lentil meatball. I wanted to do a meatball that is somewhere in between just a pure lentil meatball and a regular meatball, and just have a little bit more extra nutrition, have a little bit of extra protein, and see how it comes out. It's going to be a bit of a recipe testing day. It's going to be almost recipe development, and I'm really curious to see how my meatballs are going to end up turning out. Then, alongside that, my friends, we're going to be doing a really, really, really beautiful tomato sauce. Now, this is not just going to be any tomato sauce, it's going to be a white wine tomato sauce, because I want to have something that does feature the tomatoes, but also has the acidity and the sweetness and the aroma of wine as well as much of a component. And so I just thought that that would be an interesting spin, that would be an interesting take on a classic red sauce. And alongside all of that, my friends, even though we have a bit of an Italian vibe today, I had some leftover potatoes in my fridge. So I figured, okay, I'm feeling like a mashed potato sort of thing today. And not just any mashed potato. I have some leftover spinach, and so I'm going to be doing something that is inspired by a col cannon, which is essentially a mashed potato with either cabbage or kale. This is a mashed potato with spinach as well as some scallions, and it's going to be super delicious and super, super yummy. So, everybody, at any point in time, if you would like the full list of all of the ingredients, you can type in ! menu, but I'm just going to go ahead and walk through some of them today. So, I have about a pound of lamb and ground beef mix. For what I'm doing today, my friends, you could theoretically just use some ground beef. You could do some 80-20 ground beef. You want a nice fatty ground meat, my friends. You don't want to use lean, because fatty meat for a meatball ensures they have a nice, juicy, delicious, and flavorful bite. Okay, there's very few times that I would recommend using a lean ground beef. This is not one of them. So, once again, my friends, about roughly a pound of lamb or so. Again, this is a lamb and beef mixture, and it's going to be quite fatty and quite sumptuous for you today. Next, for the meatballs, my friends, in advance, I had soaking for 1 hour a bunch of green lentils. This is about a cup of green lentils. I don't think I'm going to need all of them, but that's okay. Now, I've had them soaking in some salted water. This is a wonderful tip that I picked up from America's Test Kitchen about how soaking lentils in salty water ahead of time makes the skins a lot more flexible. Something to do with calcium and magnesium and ions and all of that. But ultimately, giving it an hour soak in some water with a little bit of salt will help to make the skins more flexible and stop it from exploding as much. Guys, the beauty of lentils is that green lentils, black lentils, brown lentils, French green lentils, all of those are interchangeable with one another. The red and yellow lentils are essentially peeled lentils. Okay, these are going to hold on to their shape, they're going to get nice and soft, and they're going to, of course, get mixed into the meatball. Gonna go ahead and put that down behind me. Next, everybody, I have a huge variety of ingredients behind me. For the sauce today, I have 2 cans of tomatoes. These are whole peeled tomatoes. Now, in regards to canned tomatoes, for most of the year, this is actually optimal to make a tomato sauce with, because canned tomatoes are picked and preserved at the peak of their ripeness, okay? And we're in the winter time, we're not getting any decent tomatoes depending on where you're at. So canned tomatoes is the way to go. Now, I have two different brands of canned tomatoes because I haven't bought canned tomatoes in a while. I want to taste these for myself to decide which one actually ends up tasting better, because so many different varieties of canned tomatoes at the stores, guys. There's so many different brands. I just want to give it a shot. I want to give it a taste. So these are Muti and these are Tutoroso, which are some of the most popular brands of canned tomatoes. These are going to get cooked down. They're going to become nice and sweet and nice and delicious. I'll put that down behind me. Next, everybody, of course, you can't have food like this without a bunch of extra virgin olive oil, and that's going to be used in the sauce today. Afterwards, my friends, I have some white wine. Now, here's the thing about cooking in wine. There is this old tradition of saying, oh, you must always use the same wine that you would drink. Complete and total nonsense. Guys, by the time that you cook down a wine inside of a sauce, you first of all evaporating most of the alcohol. You're also losing a lot of the fresher notes and a lot of the fresher flavors of the white wine itself. So it's going to get super, super lost. For today, just about any white wine is gonna do. I just have some Sauvignon Blanc. I have a Pinot Grigio. It's gonna be fine. If you only have red wine, it's gonna be fine. We're looking for the flavor of the wine itself, my friends, but I don't use cooking wine. Cooking wine is pre-salted. It'll change, and it tends to be a little bit more acidic than anything else. So any cheap bottle of wine is going to be more than fine for you today. Okay, everybody, essential component. You cannot have a meatball without a bread. This is going to be part of what we like to call a panade. A panade is just a mixture of bread, typically with milk or maybe some water, and it helps to really make the meatball nice and soft. So this is an old, stale piece of bread that we're going to go ahead and cut up into little cubes, and we'll get that ready for today. And then everybody, we have some milk that's going to be used in both the mashed potatoes and the meatball today. I'll go ahead and set that down. Next, my friends, I have a little bit of dried oregano for the sauce. I have a bunch of Parmesan, which we're going to grind up. We're going to grate it up, and we're going to get it nice and mixed throughout the meatball. We have some garlic, which is going to go both into the sauce and into the meatball as well. And I can just go ahead and set all of those down behind me. Next, guys, I know it's a lot of ingredients, it's a lot of components. I got 4 Idaho potatoes for my cold cannon, for my mashed potato. I also have 1 whole red onion. So many people say, oh, red onions, those are not optimal for caramelizing, those are not optimal for cooking. But guess what? This is the onion that I had at home. And the magic of alliums, the magic of onions, my friends, is that they're all interchangeable with one another. Never listen to anybody that goes, you must only make this with a yellow onion. You must only make this with a sweet Vidalia onion. Yes, they're all a little bit different, but at the end of the day, guys, they're all mostly interchangeable. So, red onion, ready for today. And last but not least, my friends, 2 more components, aside from the scallions, which are in my fridge. I have a whole head of spinach, nice and washed, ready to go for today. And then I also have a bunch of fresh basil. We'll use a little bit of basil as garnish, and we'll also use some fresh basil to go ahead and finish off into the sauce. It's going to infuse, it's going to make it nice and aromatic and make it nice and delicious. So, we have a lot going on. We have a lot of different components. We got to make a tomato sauce. We got to make meatballs. We also got to make mashed potatoes. If everybody is ready, I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. And also, Annie, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. Okay, wonderful. And everybody, before we begin today, we can do, of course, a little teeny tiny bit of housekeeping. As always, if you have any and all cooking questions at any point in time, remember, feel free to ask me. It doesn't have to be about this dish. It doesn't have to be, directly involved with what we're doing today. I'm here to help you guys learn how to cook at home. So any and all questions go a long way. Okay, next, guys, if you would like to support the cooking show, !tip, !donate, or !Patreon. Very nice ways to go ahead and directly support the show. All right, and then if you'd also like, check out my wish list, wish list or throne. I have some cooking stuff that I would love to be able to have on stream, some chef weights, a couple of other little toys that we can go ahead and play with. So, everybody, for today, we got to begin with the sauce, because the magic to a tomato sauce, my friends, the key to making a really, really good sauce is to let it cook for ridiculous amounts of time. Now, I'm not going to have 4 to 6 hours to cook the sauce today. It's only going to be done in about 2 hours or so. But the beauty of a red sauce, my friends, is that it gets better over time. And we're going to keep it really simple. Just onions, garlic, basil, tomatoes, and wine. 5 ingredients, not including the salt, of course. But all of those are going to come together for us to be able to make a beautiful sauce. So, let's go ahead and begin. My friends, as always, I have a cutting board set up with a little wet paper towel underneath so that it is able to stay as stable as possible. I have my knife, which is now nicely and newly sharpened. And then I have a whole onion. Okay, so for the sauce today, my friends, I'm only going to be using half of a red onion. Now, in traditional Italian, mainland Italian tomato sauces, you would almost never see chunks of onion and you would almost never see chunks of garlic. They would usually add in a chunk of onion and then go ahead and take it out. I personally think that for doing a tomato sauce, that's kind of stupid. Because if you cut the onion into a nice small dice, it of course is able to impart its nice allium flavor, but it's going to cook so long and it's going to get so soft that you're not going to bite into chunks of onions. But the key in that case, my friends, is to really, truly, properly, finely dice this onion. Okay, so for the sauce itself, we're only going to need about half of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and give that a nice little slice. I'm cutting off the head. Then I'm going to go ahead and just slice it down the root, down the middle of the onion. Half of it I'm going to reserve for the meatballs. And then the other half, my friends, we're of course going to get ready for today. So root attached, skin on. Skin is about to go ahead and come off. We'll just give that a nice proper peel. And I always get rid of the extra papery layer just so that we don't get any papery bits inside of the sauce. I'm going to use my bench scraper, scoop up any of the scraps. And now, my friends, the goal is the following. I want to obtain the finest possible dice imaginable, because the way that you cut your onion does matter. If I cut it into big chunks, it's not going to infuse as well, even though with a few hours of cooking time, it'll infuse just fine. But also, I don't want to bite into chunks of onion. Remember, my friends, this is a tomato sauce. It is not an onion sauce. The onion is not the star of the show today. So we're going to be doing, of course, the tried and true onion fan method. So all that we're going to do, my friends, we have the onion right here. We're just going to make a bunch of really, really thin parallel incisions. Just like so. Thin, thin, thin. Also, Godzilla's, welcome on in. And guys, it is so nice to have a freshly sharpened knife, I have to say. I finally got it back from my favorite knife store in New York. So take a look, guys. All I'm doing is I'm fanning out the onion. I'm fanning it out. I'm fanning it out. Beautiful. And it is attached by the root of it still. And now that I have a beautifully fanned out onion, all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and slice it into this beautiful small diced onion. I could probably go a lot thinner than that. There you go. Again, for something like this, guys, the thinner, the better. This isn't as much of a fine dice as it is a small dice, because I didn't want to put that effort in for today, but I think this is going to be just fine. So guys, we have a dilemma. Look at it. The onion, it's filling up the cutting board, the cutting surface. It's beginning to get a little bit awkward. So what do we do about it? The answer is, as always, get a transfer bowl all set and ready to go, my friends. Whenever your station gets crowded, so that you don't accidentally go through your onions multiple times, so that stuff doesn't come flying off the cutting board, use a bench scraper and get it out into a separate bowl or plate. Okay, keep your station clean and keep it organized. What I really don't like is the people that like stack their cutting board with like all of like, you know, it's just full to the brim and it makes it so difficult to actually work on. So stay neat and stay organized is my advice for all of you. Okay, and whenever the onion starts to get a little bit wobbly, whenever we're approaching the end of the fan itself, that's when we can just simply stack it up this way, give it a nice thin slice, give it a thin slice, give it a thin slice, and give that a few more slices. And guess what, everybody? We have the onion nice and prepped. Overloaded cutting board is YouTube video degeneracy? That's right, Serena, you got it. You tell them. So, there you go. Beautiful. All of that goes inside of the bowl. And then because we have so much other prep that we need to do and the onions are going to take a while to get nice and properly sauteed, we can even begin cooking the onions now, my friends. Because again, I want to give this sauce as much time as possible. So I want to cook the onions, I want to saute them, and I want to get a nice little bit of color onto them. It's going to help make it a little bit nuttier, and then by just cooking down the onions and evaporating the extra moisture, we're of course going to get the onions nice and sweet for today. Okay, so I have on my stove, all set and all ready to go, a nice large saucepan, my friends. As always, when it comes to sauteing anything at all, we begin on a medium to medium low heat, and we're going to be doing a combination of extra virgin olive oil and butter today. Now, everybody, sauce advice, okay? For a really, really good tomato sauce, if you were to start with extra virgin olive oil and not add any at the end, you are going to not get the full spectrum of flavors that extra virgin olive oil has to offer. Extra virgin olive oil is not a pure clarified oil. It has a lot of little tiny sediments in there. It's super aromatic and it's super delicious. By cooking it for long extended amounts of time, you do lose a lot of the flavors. You don't lose all of them. So what I do is in the beginning, I do a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of butter, and then when the sauce is just about done, my friends, with just a few minutes to go, I'll add in a little bit of extra olive oil to really let it infuse. And that way we get the full spectrum of flavors. Otherwise, just doing olive oil in the beginning and not finishing with any, it's not going to give you as much oomph. So, a little bit of olive oil now. It doesn't need too much now. Remember, it's going to get plenty of it later on. And then I'm going to, of course, do a nice big chunk of butter just for some extra flavor as well. And if anybody has any questions, please remember that you are always welcome to just go ahead and ask me. Okay, now where is my butter? Aha, there she is. Got some Kerrygold. Chef, is it ever worth it to have more than one kind of extra virgin olive oil? I have a fancy one and I have an everyday. So Tarina, the answer is yes. You could use the cheaper one for the beginning of the cook time and then use the expensive one just to go ahead and finish it with. Really expensive ones you don't really typically want to cook with though. So I'm gonna add in a nice big chunk of butter, guys, just to help make the sauce a little bit more unctuous. Also, Zavanoya, welcome on in. Hope you're having an excellent, wonderful day today. I'm just gonna add in my butter. I'll put the rest of that away and into the fridge, and then we can do the rest of the prep that we need to for this lovely tomato sauce. Okay, so here's what needs to happen. We gotta get garlic. We have to also go ahead and crush up the tomatoes for the sauce today. So we can go ahead and get that started in just a second. And guys, remember the pan, it doesn't need to be super hot. The process of actually sauteing and getting some color on the onions, it'll take a little while. It'll take a little while, it'll take some time. So, I'm gonna get some garlic cloves out. 4 garlic cloves, I think that's gonna be perfect for this amount of sauce for today. And guys, once again, in traditional Italian cooking, in traditional Italian tomato sauces, you almost never see this much minced garlic going inside of something. You almost typically see adding in a clove of garlic and then taking it out. And honestly, I think that's nonsense. To my palate, I love a garlic heavy sauce, okay? And so 4 cloves of minced garlic is going to be just that for us today. So, the butter is melting into the olive oil, my friends. It is infusing, it's getting nice and delicious. Now, especially because we're cooking with the butter, we don't wanna burn the butter. We don't wanna burn the oil. We don't want those guys to brown. We just wanna go ahead and get some beautiful color onto my onions, my friends. So, gonna go ahead, finish melting that off. It is, of course, splashing because butter is not a pure fat, right? It has some water, it has some little milk solids inside of it. And now, I'm just going in with my onions. All of them diced, all of them ready to go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All of it inside, and then we'll save that bowl for something else whenever we see fit. Okay, everybody, remember, these onions, they're not going to get color immediately. They need to first collapse, release the water, evaporate, and only then will we be able to develop real color on the onions. Medium-low heat, adding in some salt to, of course, season it and to help pull out some of the liquid. And you can hear, my friends, the sizzle dying down at this stage. Just make sure no onions are stuck to the edges of the pan. And we can kind of let that go for a second. We can let it be. We don't have to stir it every 5 seconds. It's not caramelized onions or anything. Okay, so back to the garlic. I got garlic. I have a bench scraper. Here's how we peel it. Garlic, smash. Wonderful. Next, garlic, smash. Wonderful. Garlic, smash. Excellent. Garlic, smash. So droid. And now, by the way, that we've smashed it, we can just go ahead and peel it. Real talk, traditional Italian cooking is kind of overrated. I like a lot of flavor and a lot of ingredients. So droid, you need to consider a few things when it comes to traditional Italian cooking theory. One of them is just simply because of the fact that Italy has much better produce than we do in the United States. We don't have a very good relationship with our agriculture here in the US. We don't really have a concept of seasonality. And as a result, all of our ingredients are essentially imported. Or if they are grown here, they're grown for transportability rather than flavor. Our ingredients in the United States, generally speaking, in most supermarkets, they suck. So that means that in the United States, we have to cook with a little bit more maximalism. We have to cook with stronger flavors, and we have to cook with a little bit more spices, simply because of the fact that our produce is just not as good. Okay, the second thing that you also have to consider is cultural context, especially the way that you grew up. A very easy example of this is in something like salt. A lot of people, they really, especially globally, every sort of country, every single culture, they prefer different amounts of salt. French food, if we were to go to France and have some food there, we would find it to be really heavily lacking in salt, mostly because we're used to a certain amount of salt. It's all relative to the consumer, okay? So there's a lot of complexities, there's a lot of nuance to it. It's not that they're incorrect, it's just that's not the way that I grew up on having that much of like a delicate flavor, and we also just do not have produce that is as good. And so as a result, we have to embrace longer cook times and stronger flavors and stronger components overall, okay? Like I remember, I was at a jazz club, and there was this beautiful French woman who was talking about how annoyed she was about how all American desserts have cinnamon, and all they do is they taste like cinnamon and sugar rather than the food itself. And I had to explain, well, yeah, we have to, because our fruit, right, maybe aside from apples, kind of sucks, right? Like especially our berries, our strawberries. Oh my God. Guys, when's the last time that you had a supermarket strawberry that was decent? I haven't. I don't even know when's the last time I had a decent strawberry, right? So as a result, we're essentially forced to compensate. We're forced to just make do. So that's my long explanation as to, you know, why also, like, I guess traditional Italian theory doesn't very well adapt over to American ingredients in a lot of ways as well, you know? Like Italians would get disgusted by like seeing like, oh, how could you cook tomatoes this long? How could you add so much garlic into something? And the reality is, well, we kind of have to. Have I ever had gnocchi? Oh, absolutely, Yuko. In fact, I'm working on a recipe that is similar to gnocchi called nudi, made out of ricotta, or in my case, farmer's cheese. But I'm working on it, trying to develop it for the home setting. Okay, everybody, we have now approached a sizzle on these lovely onions. Let's go ahead and get to the onions. They're sizzling. Now they're beginning to ever so slightly brown. Okay, everybody, typically speaking, you will almost always hear people say, oh, you should never cook with a red onion, right? They just say, oh, there's better kinds of onions out there for cooking and sautéing, and red onions are only good for salads or something. Now, there is one consequence to cooking with a red onion, and it is, for whatever reason, probably because of whatever is causing the pigment of the red onion, the purple onion, it does tend to stick a little teeny tiny bit more. But everybody, remember, the magic of cooking is in its adaptability. It is how interchangeable everything is. If you have a white onion, go ahead and use that. If you have a Dahlia onion, use that. If you have leeks, that sounds like a delicious sauce. Use that, have fun, and be creative, my friends. So, we don't need too much color on the onions. We just want a little bit of that delicious caramelized nuttiness to develop. We want to infuse the oil with the flavor of those onions. The garlic has now been officially minced, put through the garlic press. And no, Serena, not homemade garlic, not homemade farmer's cheese. I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint you. Okay, next step, guys. We gotta open the canned tomatoes. And as part of today, I did also want to do a little bit of testing. I haven't bought canned tomatoes in quite some time. As a result, I don't really know which are the brands that I prefer. So really fun thing that you can do, guys, instead of Googling, instead of looking up, oh, what are the best canned tomatoes, which are the ones that I should go ahead and buy, just buy some, try it out, and if they're not the best, then you'll just be able to live. So these are Muti. The brand is Muti whole peel tomatoes. Okay, and then these are the Tutto Rosso ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my can opener out for that. But still babysitting the onions. Make sure nothing is scorching, nothing is sticking, nothing is burning. Let's get the can opener, let's get it open. Fun tip from the chef, just spend your money on lots of food. That's right. Just experiment, guys. Experiment and figure out your favorite brands. Okay, so I will often advocate for the use of canned tomatoes inside of a sauce. Because just as we talked about before, in regards to produce quality, especially with tomatoes, for most of the year, tomatoes are not that good. Even in the summertime, I find that the tomatoes in my supermarket, they tend to suck. Canned tomatoes are sometimes ideal for something like a tomato sauce because they do tend to be canned and picked at their peak ripeness. Okay, everybody, we have tomatoes. Now we have one problem. They're big. I do not need whole tomatoes inside of my sauce for today. We just need to get it slightly crushed up. I'm not going to be going after anything completely homogeneous today. I'm not going to be going after like a complete smooth puree. But all I'm going to do is I am going to use a hand blender. I'm going to use my trusty stick blender to just go ahead and blend them up a little bit. Okay, so blend them up a little bit, get them mostly crushed, and then I want to do a taste comparison of each one side by side before we add it into the sauce for today. But right now, my friends, we have some bigger fish to fry, specifically my onions, which are going and cooking along, and they don't need too much time after all. Again, you can see that they're getting nice and golden, they're picking up a good amount of color. And in such a heavy tomato and white wine sauce, guys, honestly, a lot of that nuttiness is just going to end up getting lost. So you don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, now, garlic. 4 cloves of garlic, properly minced, put through the garlic press, go in. And then we just give it a little stir. We want it to infuse into the oil, just so that the whole thing becomes nice and aromatic. Again, never a high heat. Stir often to stop it from burning. And then we'll be deglazing it with the white wine today. Everybody, I wanted to do a bit of a spin. I wanted to do a slight variation of a traditional red tomato sauce, which I feel like can sometimes taste kind of samey. I wanted to do something that's very heavy on the white wine. You will not often see tomato sauces done with white wine like this, especially ones that get cooked down for a very, very long time. But I wanted to see how white wine forward can we get? How much of that delicious fruitiness, how much of that delicious aroma can we get inside of the final product for today? I don't want it to get lost by the tomatoes. I want it to coexist side by side with them. So this is a leftover old bottle of Pinot Grigio going in. And then we can always compensate and add more white wine throughout the process. Now, everybody, in cooking, there is this conception that you can only add alcohol, you can only add wine in the beginning of the cook time. And they say you must always deglaze something with it. Complete and total nonsense. I'm adding my white wine now so that I can dissolve all of the sugars that are stuck at the bottom. But at any point in time, if I want to add more wine, guys, I can just add it on in. It's not going to significantly mitigate the evaporation of alcohol as long as I give it enough time to cook out. Okay? So does it make sense to add white wine in stages for the flavor, like the olive oil stages? So Turina, we might even give that a shot. We'll see. But I am going to just guess it's not actually all that serious. It's not that complicated. We don't have to stress about it too much. So this is a lot of white wine for the sauce. And again, if at any point in time we want to add more, guess what? We'll just be able to go ahead and add some more. I need to figure out where can I do my blending from, and if this cord will be able to reach a nice long distance. So, 1 second please, I should have probably tested this out beforehand, but I neglected to do so. Okay, let's see. Will this fit? So again, we only add the white wine at this stage just so that we can really, really help to make sure that the sugars get nice and properly unstuck from the bottom of the pan. So I'm just going to reduce my heat because we'll be stepping away for a second. Okay, everybody, I believe it's going to be blend time. Let's see. Hopefully, I'll be able to fit everything inside properly. Blender. Is my stick blender going to fit inside of this little canister? And the answer is ever so slightly no. Oh, guys, that is such a tragedy. I don't think my blender is going to fit in the can. I have to put it in a separate vessel just to blend my tomatoes. The tragedy of my existence. Okay, that's fine. That's okay, I suppose. Let me just go ahead and quickly stir that up. Make sure nothing is sticking, nothing is burning. I'm gonna go get a vessel for my tomatoes now. Dirty another dish, apparently, which I've been known to do from time to time. I'm just gonna dump these tomatoes in. And then there's some extra tomato pulp inside that we can always go ahead and clean up. Saifaroni, welcome on in. Hope you're having an excellent day today. Okay, let's blend the tomatoes and then we'll do a little taste test of each one. Okay, first one. And again, guys, we don't need a complete puree or anything. We just want all of the big chunks crushed up. So something like that is just fine. All of the big pieces, it's all gonna cook out. I'm looking for something a little bit more rustic in texture today. And now for the big can of tomatoes that my stick blender should hopefully be able to fit. So let's find out. Please tell me that this all fits. And the answer is mostly. I'm trying my best, guys, to not make a mess. But it's challenging. It's tricky. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, guys, I think I got the chunks going. I think I have the tomatoes blending appropriately. Wonderful. Okay, that's done. That's been taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Stick Blender. And now before we add the tomatoes into the sauce, we're going to go ahead and give it a little taste. I want to give it a little taste, and I want to see if there is a significant difference between these two brands that I've gotten for today. I want to see if it's actually worth going for one or the other. So, let's go ahead and find out. These are the Tuturoso tomatoes that I have here. It's not a perfect experiment. They might have different amounts of water. I don't care. We'll figure it out. Light, tomatoey, mostly acidic. It's fine. It's a very uneventful tomato, I think. And then I will try the more expensive one that I ended up purchasing for today. Guys, they might taste exactly the same. Yeah, these two are completely identical. These two brands that I got, one of them, the smaller can, cost as much as the bigger can because it was an organic tomato. But these two brands, totally and completely identical. So, that's just for these two brands. There's so many different brands, there's so many different growers of tomatoes. Between Muto and Tuturoso, is that the one? Completely and totally 100% identical. Oh well, okay, time to add them into the sauce. I have no desire to even think about them again. I'm a little annoyed about that. I was hoping to get a little bit more interesting variation, but now I know that both of these tomato brands are actually just kind of whatever, and that's okay. So, first batch goes in, and of course I'm going to clean off the can with a little bit of water, just so that I can get the rest of it off. Excellent. Okay, next canister of tomatoes goes in with some of the water. And there she goes. Wonderful. And I'll go ahead and clean that one up as well. Oh well. Silly question, but what are San Marzano tomatoes? Serena, that's a very good question. San Marzano tomatoes refer to, I believe, both a variety of tomatoes as well as the place where they're specifically grown. So, it is a regional classification in a very specific part of Italy, off the Vesuvio mountain, something about volcanic ash. And it's important for it to be designated as San Marzano tomatoes because they're really flavorful. They're really good tomatoes. Now, there's a lot of San Marzano imitators. There's a lot of San Marzano imposters on the market. And you will oftentimes see them as San Marzano style. The only way that you know if you're buying an actual San Marzano tomato, Serena, is if you see the acronym D-O, is it D-O-P or is it D-O-B? Somebody fact check me, please. I forgot. It's either D-O-B or D-O-P. I forgot what the acronym is on it. But that indicates that it is, of course, an actual San Marzano tomato that has been imported and everything. So, hopefully somebody can answer that for me. But there's plenty of good San Marzano style tomatoes as well. DOP. Okay, thank you, Turina. I appreciate it. Okay, everybody, this sauce is super simple. The sauce is super easy. And now, all we have to do is just let it go. We're going to go ahead and let it cook for basically as long as possible. And now, in that process, my friends, we're going to achieve a lot of different things. So, if everybody's listening, I do want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, because this is going to be super important and why the time that it cooks is essential. Okay? A yes chef from everybody, each and every single one of you. Please and thank you. And I'll have a sip of water while that's happening. Okay, so there is a lot of magic to cooking the tomato sauce for a very, very long time. And that's because there's a few processes that we're really looking to take advantage of. The simplest one and the easiest one is evaporation, my friends. Right? We have all of this liquid, we have all of this wine, we have all of this water. Now, we're going to cook this down until it becomes nice and thick, nice and saucy, nice and glossy and rich and delicious. We're essentially going to be concentrating a lot of those flavors and really, really fighting our best against this dilution that we have achieved. Okay, tomatoes are wet, and the first thing that we can do is concentrate the flavors. The next thing that's going to happen, my friends, is a little bit of caramelization, a little bit of browning. So, it's going to happen in a couple of ways. The less water there is, the less wet this pot is, we're going to be achieving some amount of browning both on the sides and on the bottom of the pot of tomato sauce that we're going to be stirring back inside. That caramelization, that browning, it doesn't necessarily make it sweeter, but it makes it more complex. It makes it slightly nuttier. It makes it slightly meatier. It gives it a little bit more of that roasted oomph. Okay, so evaporation, a little bit of caramelization, okay? And then the third process that we're trying to maybe take advantage of. This is one that I am not so sure about. This is one that I see talked about all the time in the food world, okay? But very few people can give me exact temperatures and times because it's a complicated thing. It's a little process called hydrolysis, okay? Hydrolysis is really, really simply put, the process of taking a starch and turning it into sugar. There's many different kinds of hydrolysis. Now, hydrolysis, whether or not it's actually occurring at this scale, with this amount of ingredients, with the specific starches that are present in tomatoes, I'm gonna have to throw my hands up and say I don't think it does. However, there is one very strong piece of evidence for hydrolysis occurring. And it is that if you were to take this tomato sauce and cook it down to a certain point, and you were to keep cooking at that point, and even if you were to add more water to keep it at the same viscosity, right? So it's not any more or less diluted. A tomato sauce that's cooked at 6 hours this way, despite being the same concentration of a tomato sauce that was cooked at 2 hours, right? Added a little bit of liquid here and there, the 6-hour sauce should theoretically taste a little bit sweeter. Now, I don't know if that is because of the hydrolysis, and I don't know if that is because of the perceived sweetness from the extra nuttiness that we get from the caramelization itself. Whether or not hydrolysis is actually occurring here, guys, I'm gonna be honest, I do not know. But the primary thing that makes a tomato sauce sweet, my friends, is evaporation. It's the concentration of all of those sugars, of all of those flavors, as we evaporate all of that excess liquid out of there. That is why we are never going to be adding in any amount of sugar into this tomato sauce. Never, never, never. Even with bad tomatoes, even with bland tomatoes, guys, you can achieve a beautiful tomato sauce if you simply cook it down long enough. It's going to get thick, it's going to get sweet, and it's going to get delicious. So, that was a very, very long-winded explanation. We're just going to basically bring this up to a boil, then we'll drop it to a simmer, and we will cook it as long as, okay, I splashed some, that's fine. I guess I'll just have to go ahead and clean that up now. But we're just going to be cooking this down as long as possible. In my case today, guys, it's going to be a couple of hours. Ideally, you could even do this in a Dutch oven. You could do this inside of your oven, 300 degrees for 4 hours, mixing occasionally. There's more than one way to skin a cat, okay? So this is the beginnings of a really, really beautiful and really delicious tomato sauce. And I'm very excited about it. Just making sure that nothing is stuck on the bottom, and it shouldn't be, because this mixture, guys, it's super wet at this stage. There is no super big risk of burning. I'm just going to slap a lid on it really quickly if I have one. I don't actually have a clean lid. That's on me. We're just going to bring this up to a boil, drop it to a simmer, and let it go and let it cook. So that was a lot of yapping. That was a lot of talking. Is everybody doing well? Is everybody keeping up? And if so, I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. Okay. So what else do we have to do for today? Well, for the lamb and lentil meatballs, we're going to, of course, need to cook our lentils. We're going to need to make the panade, which is bread soaked with a little bit of water. We have to dice the onion. We have to do the garlic. We have to do all the mashed potato prep. We still have a lot of work coming up ahead of us for today. Okay? Our meatballs made out of lamb dara, they sure are gav. They are a mixture of both lamb and lentils for today. Because I'm looking for more ways to sort of move away from pure meat consumption all the time. I want to be able to get the nutrition. I also want to be able to get the flavor of lentils inside of a meatball. You can do an all lentil meatball, but I actually find them to be quite dense and quite dry. And so I figured that lentils would make an excellent pairing with something like with the lamb, which is very, very fatty and of course a little bit gamey as well. Okay, so I thought that together they would end up being really, truly quite delicious. So I have my lentils that have been soaking in a little bit of salted water. Guys, for today, the lentil fundamentals I'm showing you are applicable to brown lentils, black lentils, green lentils, and like French Le Puy lentils. Okay, the difference between red and yellow lentils and all of the other lentils is that these guys are skin on. Because they're skin on, they're going to hold their shape as they cook. By soaking them in salted water, you actually stop them from exploding as much. It makes the skins a little bit more flexible for reasons that I would not be able to fully explain, but America's Test Kitchen did a really good video on that. So I'm just going to dump out the soaking liquid. I'm going to get myself a fresh pot. And then all we're going to do, guys, to ensure that we have nice intact lentils, even though for the meatball doesn't matter as much, we're going to be gently, gently simmering it. We're not boiling it. We're not heating it to death. We're not agitating it with the boiling, guys. We're just going to gently simmer it. So, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly strain these guys off. Get that soaking liquid out of here. And then we'll just replace it with some nice, cool, clean water in my pot in just a second. Wonderful. So my tomato sauce, guys, it has come up to quite the aggressive boil at this stage. And honestly, it can stay at a boil. The thicker your tomato sauce gets, the more it's going to splash as it boils. Okay? And honestly, that is not what you want. But when it's still so liquidy, when there's still so much excess water, this is going to be more than okay. Just every now and then, I'm going in there and I'm scraping up the sides. Because the sides, guys, and the bottom is where all of the caramelization is going to happen. The water is going to flow to the top. The solids are going to flow to the bottom. You just want to make sure that you're stirring this often enough that nothing is burning. Okay? Stir it up, stir it up. Wonderful. Okay. Lentils in a pot. They will go. And I don't think I'm going to use all the lentils for today, guys. I soaked about a cup of lentils. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking that might be a lot for a pound of lamb. But we'll also see. We'll find out. We'll see how it goes. Okay, got my lentils in a pot. I'm just going to go ahead and fill that up with some water. Again, guys, gently, gently simmering it. It should only take about 20 minutes in total or so. It's not going to soak up all of the water or anything. Just stir it occasionally. Bring it up to a boil, drop to a simmer. You know the deal. You know how it goes. So that's how we cook lentils. That's how we make a tomato sauce. We're moving along well for today. And I just got to get a nice lid. But I don't know. Guys, I think I lost my lid. Is this going to fit the pot? Hopefully. Somewhat. Okay. Whatever. That'll be fine. Great. Lentils are going. Tomato sauce is going. It's all happening. It's all coming together. We don't have to flavor the lentils too much necessarily because it's going to be flavored in with all of the mix-ins that we're using for the meatballs today. Okay. So guys, we have some steps. We have some stuff that we have to go ahead and prep and get done. We have to build the panade. We have to cut up the onions. We have to shave the parmesan. We have to do the garlic. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we need to get done for my meatball mixture today. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with the panade. Everybody, there is this sentiment, there is this idea that a good meatball is only done with meat, that bread and fillers are bad. Okay? It's all nonsense. Also, Exuft, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. There's this idea that bread inside of a meatball is purely filler. And that, my friends, could not be further from the truth. A panade is essential to the texture of a meatball, not for a burger. A burger is pure meat, but for both meatloaves and meatballs to get a nice, soft, tender bite. Some people, they use breadcrumbs. A lot of people, guys, the best thing that you can do, any stale leftover bread soaked in a little bit of buttermilk, maybe just some plain old milk, is going to do the job more than fine. So, what I'm going to try my best to do, despite it being a roll, I am going to try my best to just shave off the crust and nothing but the crust. Okay, this was just an old bread that we had sitting in the freezer. The crust itself is not actually going to get that soft over the soaking time. So the crust I am going to shave off, guys. I'm just shaving it off to the best of my ability. And makes for a good snack. Okay. Leaving as much of the bread intact. And if you get a little bit of crust in there, it'll be fine. You don't have to worry about it too much, guys. Okay, something like that, something like that. Okay, and now this roll is naked. It is devoid of any crust. Excuse me? My iPad was freaking out for a second. Okay, so as for the crust, you could save this and do something else with it. I honestly, guys, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I think I'm just gonna get rid of it at this point. It's an ancient stale piece of bread. Okay, it was just sitting in the freezer. It was left over, I think, for my mom's birthday party, right? We had a bunch of leftover rolls that I was slowly working at. Okay, I'm just going back into the sauce, guys, and I'm scraping up those sides. You do not want to leave those sides to burn. Make croutons with it, honestly. It's such a thin, little, tiny piece of bread that the best thing that you could do would be probably to make breadcrumbs out of it. But it is not nearly enough for me to warrant actually saving. Okay, bread. What do, guys? We make it, of course, into little teeny tiny cubes. So we're just going to go ahead and just slice it, and slice it, and slice it, just like so. And then we're going to go ahead and cut it into sticks. Cut it up into sticks. Stack it up, and cube it. And this is going to become the panade for today. Now, how much should you use? Honestly, guys, I have no idea. I'm using this one small roll for an entire pound of lamb and however much lentils I'm actually making for today. I could not give you an exact measurement, so I do apologize sincerely. This might end up making way too much panade, but if anything, it's just going to yield a nice, proper, tender meatball, my friends. So, little tiny cubes of bread, wonderful, all set, all ready to go. My biggest piece of advice for any meatball, guys, use a bowl that is slightly too big. Because when you get your hands in there and you start mixing it up, okay, you don't want any of the ingredients to start flying out of the bowl, okay? I'm just quickly checking on my lentils, making sure they're doing okay. They seem to be doing well. So, bread in. Next step, everybody, milk. How much milk? I have no idea. Enough to hydrate the panade itself, enough to hydrate all of my little tiny cubes of bread. So in one splash, 2 splashes go in, and I think that's going to be plenty. It's going to soak it up, and it's going to make the meatballs nice and tender, and I'll keep this in my fridge for safekeeping. Wonderful. That's in. Let it go, guys. Let it soak up. That's all you have to do to this panade. Let it soak and let it sit. Okay. I'm making some space. I've been using a lot of bowls for today, so I'm just going to go ahead and just start cleaning up a little bit. I didn't know croutons were such a central part of it. They are. Yes, you cannot have a Western-style meatball without the presence of a panade. Now, for different kinds of meatballs, meatball is such a general term. The first thing that I'm thinking of is a Vietnamese beef ball. Vietnamese beef balls are intentionally very bouncy. They're very, very chewy. They have a very nice bite to them. In Vietnamese beef balls, you would not see the presence of a bread component. It's actually a lot more similar to a sausage because the meat itself, it's almost whipped in how it's mixed up, okay? So guys, I'm going into my sauce and I can feel on the bottom with my wooden spoon. I can feel how it's like slightly sticking. Some of it is like slightly crusting up in there, right? I can feel that it's not just straight liquid all the way through. Get back in there, guys, and scrape up the bottom to the best of your ability. And now, at this point, we've reduced some of the liquid. We're gonna keep this thing cooking, guys. We're gonna keep it simmering. We're going to keep it going for as long as humanly possible. So just getting in there, And again, just mixing it up, scraping off the sides, and adding it back in. And my friends, the goal at the end of this, we're going to reduce this by over half. It's going to lose so much volume. Also, verified groove. That's very nice of you. Welcome on in. I don't know if I'm chill, though. I think I might be the opposite of chill sometimes. Okay, what do we got going on? Onions. Talk to me, Mr. Onion. What are we doing with you? Well, this has to make its way into the meatball. Now, before, I would always go through the process of sautéing the onions to get rid of some of the excess liquid. I don't actually think it's all that necessary, if I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm just going to take this half of an onion. I'm going to dice it as finely as I can, though, because we do not want big chunks of onion inside. This guy, really, really important, fine, fine dice. So, let's begin. We're going to go in and make a bunch of as thin as we can, guys, parallel incisions down the length, down the length, down the length. Beautiful. As thin and close together as possible. Wonderful. Next, horizontal incisions. I keep my onion flat. I keep my knife parallel to my cutting board because, again, I'm looking for as thinly as humanly possible slices. 2 incisions make their way. The onion begins to fall apart slightly, but that's okay. And now, guys, thin, 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 just like so, all the way through. As thinly as you can humanly muster. Beautiful. That's a little bit more like it. That looks good. And honestly, guys, half of an onion might be a little too much for 1 pound of meat. I think I might actually just stop here. I might use the butt of the onion for something else in the future. I don't really know what yet. But I can tell you right now that this is certainly more than enough for today's meatballs. It was a big onion. I started off with a really, really big onion here. Okay, just scooping it up, getting it out of here, getting it off of my cutting board. Excellent. And this bad boy, I don't know, I'll just keep it chilling over here for now. My tomato sauce is going. It is still bubbling and boiling and toiling away. Wonderful. Still a whole lot of steps coming up ahead of us, though. I'm just stirring up my tomatoes. And especially while it is at this heat, guys, stirring it is half the battle. Stirring the sides, stirring the bottom all the way around, making sure no stone is unturned. Okay, for the lentils, though, keep in mind, guys, if you agitate it too much, if it's boiling too aggressively, if it's bubbling too much, your lentils are going to get burst. They're going to be bursted, they're going to be falling apart, and they're going to be soaking up too much liquid. The key is to keep it at just below the gentlest, and I do mean the gentlest of bubbling. There's a few bubbles coming up to the surface, and honestly, that is going to be okay. It's going to take maybe, after the soaking in total, only about 15 minutes of cook time or so. Right now, I'm just letting it go. And I'm letting it do its thing. I'm going in there, I'm just gently lifting up some of the lentils that were stuck at the bottom of the pot. Again, for a meatball, it might not matter as much if they're burst. It is just good lentil practice, guys, to be very, very gentle with them, to baby them. I'm setting a timer for about 10 minutes, and that's when we'll give it its first taste to see if it has the texture that we desire. Stirring up the sauce. Wonderful. A lot going on, a lot happening, a lot to juggle. Let's keep it steady. Okay. Back to the meatball mixture. So, in this time, you can already see how much the panade has begun to soak up the milk. So I'm just going in there and I'm moving it around a little bit. I just really, really want to make sure that it is getting as soaked up as possible, that no dry bits remain at all. Okay, excellent. Panade looking good so far. And in total, only about like 10-15 minutes of soaking is all that it needs. Guys, meatballs, not an exact science, not an exact ratio. This is meant to be simple, easy, convenient home cooking. Okay, there is no exact magical recipe to it. It's a lot more forgiving than you would think it is. We just have to really keep in mind why we're doing the things that we do to it. Okay, now, for my meatballs, I will, of course, demand some garlic inside of it all. We will need some garlic. We will need plenty of garlic. We need some flavor inside of the meatballs. Okay, so whole head of garlic. Well, we're not using the whole head. Just cracking it open. We're going to do a few big cloves. Something like this. 4 cloves or so. Rest of it goes there. Wonderful. Take it. What do? We smash it. And smash. Excellent. And smash it. Excellent. And one last one. We do that just so that we can give it a little peel, and then we'll be using our garlic press to get it all into the bowl. Excellent. All of it pops out. All of it comes out. Wonderful. Let's quickly trim off the dried off butts on each of my cloves. This butt did not fully come off though. Excellent. And now, my friends, once again, because I hate mincing garlic with a knife, it is going to go through my handy dandy little garlic press. As per usual. There you go. Oh, I also forgot to mention that we need egg for the meatball. It's a pretty essential binding agent. But we still got plenty of time to add that in. Okay. All of that lovely garlic is inside. It's going to help give us a nice, flavorful, delicious meatball, my friends. Okay, and before my garlic press dries out, I'm going to just go ahead and give it a little cleansing. I'm going to just quickly poke the holes with a little brush, get it out of here and get it out of sight and out of mind. Throw it into the dishwasher so that we can clean as we go, as usual in this kitchen. The lentils have about 7 more minutes roughly on the timer, but again, they can be quite variable. Sometimes they take longer, sometimes they take less, especially because of the fact that we soaked it. It shouldn't take as long as usual. I bet it smells really good. Which part? The garlic or the tomato sauce? Either way, this kitchen is beginning to get quite aromatic, so that much is true. Okay, back to the sauce, guys. Get in there and mix it up. And mix it up. And mix it up. Wonderful. Feel for any of the dried clumps of sauce, any of the dried clumps of tomatoes at the bottom. Look around for anything stuck on the edges of the pot, my friends, and get it in. Those are all of the caramelized solids from making the sauce. It's not going to make it sweeter, but it's going to make it more complex. It's going to make it nuttier. It's going to make it more delicious. So, there it is. Wonderful. And everybody, always good to do when we're cooking at home is tasting as we go. This sauce, it is hours away from being done, but we can just get a read. We can just get an idea of how it's doing so far. Take that, get a little taste, see how she's doing. Tastes like white wine and water. Time, my friends, time is the key. You don't need sugar in a tomato sauce. You don't need thickening agents in a tomato sauce. Don't listen to anybody who tells you otherwise. You do not need sugar in it if you cook it long enough, okay? To me, it is a cardinal sin to add a sweetener into a tomato sauce because it has all of the sugar that it needs. You just have to give it the time and give it the love. Okay, so what do we have so far? We have my onions. We have my garlic inside of this little bowl. Next, I think for this amount of meatball mixture, we're only going to need about 1 egg for today. And we could beat it separately. I also think it's not going to really matter all that much because we're going to be mixing all the components quite thoroughly. Get that in. And I got a little eggshell in as a treat, I think. There we go. Got that eggshell in as a treat. Wonderful. Okay. What else needs to happen? We got Parmesan. We have a whole bunch of Parmesan that we need to shave up inside. We also got to get salt in. We got to get pepper in. And that is going to be most of the meatball, guys, aside from the lentils, of course. Anybody have any questions so far on how we're doing? Okay. So, I believe it is Parmesan time. I got this little tiny block of leftover American Parmesan, not Italian Parmigiano Reggiano, but it's still going to be really, really delicious inside of the end product, guys. I'm going to just go ahead and quickly grab a glove. and we're going to grind away. I'm going to save a little bit, maybe for some garnish at the end, but I'm really looking for a big, beautiful pile of Parmesan inside, my friends. So in it goes, and that's going to give us a lot of flavor. It's going to give us a lot of salinity. It's going to give this meatball a little bit more meatiness, guys, because the cheese, of course, nice and aged. So get it in the, get it inside, grate it up. Just an actual pile, an actual mountain of Parmesan cheese, my friends. You want to be able to taste this in every single little bite of meatball that you're going to get today. Okay, that I think is a proper pile of Parmesan. Again, I'm not doing any measurements for it today, guys. That is the magic of doing this kind of cooking. That is the magic of doing this kind of food. There are no exact measurements, okay? It's really, really difficult to mess up on this. It's very forgiving. All the ratios are super forgiving. I do think I have a little bit of too much liquid, though, from the panade, so I dumped out a little bit of the milk. Chef, do you have a brand or product recommendation for cheese graters? Large, not the stick, microplane. Honestly, Serena, I do not. I've been using the same box grater as I have my whole life. I don't think I have any better grater recommendations than that one. And that one is, I have no idea what brand it is. It doesn't even have a brand on it. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check on my lentils, see how they're doing. Again, we want them to be tender. We don't want them to be burst. They're still way too crunchy, guys. Way too crunchy. Probably a minimum of 10 more minutes. Okay, now as for the seasoning for these meatballs, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it quite light for today, relatively speaking. I have some dried oregano. And so we're just going to do like what? A teaspoon of dried oregano or something? Something like that. Maybe a little bit less than. This dried oregano is just about out. Right? Again, we have a lot of powerful flavors going on. We're going to have the lamb, we're going to have the Parmesan itself, and a meatball at the end of the day is still about the meat. It is going to be about the lentils. It's going to be about the lamb. Okay, black pepper. Lots of black pepper go in. Again, not really measuring or anything. Just going in to my heart's content. I think that's going to do just fine. Now, as for the salt, I don't remember my exact ratio. I have about a pound of meat. I'm going to start out with like a teaspoon of salt, maybe maybe like 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. And then we'll mix it up and we'll see how it goes. But do not forget the Parmesan itself is quite salty, so we don't need to add as much as you would normally would without it. Okay, oregano, I can put that away. Guys, we have finished a lot of different little tasks in the kitchen. So what are we doing when we have spare time? The answer is we clean as we go. So I'm going to give you guys a nice view of everything that we have going on. But now, my friends, now is the time that you get rid of everything that you're not using. You're getting rid of the ingredients you're not using. You're getting rid of dirty dishes. Put it all away because you want a nice, clean, organized, concise kitchen. Okay? So, tomato sauce is going, lentils are going. The panade is still soaking up and everything. All that looks wonderful. I'm going to put away my stick blender. Keep it organized, guys. Remember, we are balancing passive time and active time. Okay? Passive time is now. It is between steps. It is when something is boiling away and we don't have to babysit it. Active time is when you're searing a steak or something, or there's something that you can't really walk away from because it's going to explode in your face, as the kitchen sometimes does tend to do. My Parmesan, I'm only going to need it much later for garnishing reasons. So my Parmesan, I am more than happy to go ahead and put away as well. Oh, we do have plastic wrap. Okay, I couldn't see over the fridge, but we do have some back there. How do I get it? Oh, guys, it is stuck behind the fridge. My life is difficult. I have no idea how to get that. It is in there so deep. Hello? What the heck? Okay. we're fine. We're back. We're so back, in fact. But yeah, keep it clean, guys. Keep it organized. Move everything around. Get it all done. A little bit of plastic wrap. I'll put my cheese away. Then we'll check on the lentils again. We'll see how they're doing. We'll see how they're catching up. We'll stir the sauce again. Again, when the sauce is so wet, when it's still not very viscous, it's very, very forgiving. It's not going to burn immediately, but only when it gets nice and thick do we actually risk burning it or anything. Okay, that's looking good. That looks good. Oop, excuse me. Okay, sauce time. Going in there, checking on it, stirring it around, scraping up the bottom, scraping up the sides, and then we can taste it, guys, because as we taste it, we can see how it evolves over time. Okay? So really going all the way around, doing our due diligence. Yes, all of the solid bits on the sides. Wonderful. Excellent. In fact, let's taste the sauce. Let's see how that's coming along. Already, everybody, even with just a little bit of cook time, much sweeter. But it still needs time. It still needs time. It still needs love. Let it go and let it do its own thing. Lentils. Again, I don't want to overcook these lentils until they're mush. I want them to have a little bit of bite. Okay? Not too much bite. I don't want them to be crunchy or anything, but I want them to be nice and tender and nicely and fully cooked through. They're getting there. They're getting very, very close, in fact. Okay. 5 more minutes, and then we'll check on those again. Guys, let's go ahead and blend the panade with the rest of the seasonings for the meatball itself. Okay? So, I have my panade. It's been soaking up that milk excellently. I'm going to add in all of these ingredients inside. And then we can use a spatula, we could use a spoon, we could even just use our hands to just go ahead and mix it in. Okay, so in all of that goes. And now, guys, just really, really work it. Really work it. Mash up the panade, mix in the cheese, mix in the egg. Get all of that stuff working. And the more evenly you mix this now, the less you'll actually need to mix the meat in, which can oftentimes find a lot of blind spots. Okay? I know it doesn't look all that appealing. I know it doesn't look all that delicious at this stage. But just trust the process. Trust the process on this one, my friends. Mix it up, mix it up. You can sometimes see like the egg yolk parts. You can see the egg white parts. Just chop those up to the best of your ability and get all of that stuff nice and processed. Just like so. So, a really, really nice piece of advice, a really nice sort of tip that we can do for these meatballs is the following. If you over-mix the meatballs, my friends, they're going to be super, super springy and rubbery and bouncy. Something a little bit closer to like a sausage rather than a very tender, soft meatball. However, if you don't mix it through enough, it's just going to collapse and not have any structural integrity. So a really fun thing that we can do is the following. We can really heavily work in half, or maybe a little bit more than half of our meatball mixture, of the ground lamb specifically, really mash it through, really work it in, and then save some to just gently knead in afterwards. Okay? And as a result, we will ensure that we have like the prime middle ground texture of the meatball itself, where it's not too bouncy, but it's also not too soft and not too delicate or anything. So there you go. That panade, that seasoning mixture, it's all set. It's all ready for us today, guys. Back to the stove. What do? Of course, we gotta stir this sauce. We gotta babysit it. And I can feel that it is slightly sticking to the bottom. And I can see, guys, look at all of those solids that are stuck on the sides of the pan. Scrape it in. Scrape it all back in. Scrape it all in and get it all incorporated once more. And it's becoming more viscous and it's becoming thicker and thicker and thicker. There she goes. Scrape up that bottom, scrape up that bottom. Get it all inside. Wonderful. That's how much we've reduced. The sauce is looking really good now. Oh yeah, it is tuna, absolutely. But it's still going to need a whole lot more time. It's gonna need a lot more time. It's gonna need a lot more love, a lot more energy. I'm just checking on my lentils really quickly. I'm seeing how the texture is. I think they're still a little bit too firm, which is slightly annoying because I hoped that they would be cooked by now. I lied. Guys, lentils, perfectly cooked, perfectly done, all set, all ready to go for today. I'm going to go ahead and just simply give them a little tiny strain. We're gonna strain them out. We're gonna get all that hot liquid out of there. We'll let it cool down a touch before we mix it into the eggs so it doesn't, of course, cook the eggs. And then, my friends, we will build the ultimate meatball mixture, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, lentils, perfectly cooked. Gonna go ahead and strain it off. Is the pot hot? Not hot. Ooh, that is hot. Okay, straining this is actually gonna be a little bit tricky. Gonna grab a towel for that. Lentils, one hand. Awesome, got it. Strain them out. And now we can just go ahead and let them all properly drain and properly cool off. Wonderful. Whole bunch of lentils, all set and all ready to go for today. Now, am I going to use all of those lentils is the question. I don't really know how I'm feeling about it at this stage. There's a part of me that really wants to see how much we can actually push this meatball mixture. Chat, what do you think? How many of the lentils should we use? We cooked an entire cup of lentils. We have this many lentils ready to go for today. How are we feeling on the quantity of lentils that we're doing? How much should we do for today? Again, we're mostly recipe developing and testing today, you know? I started off with 1 cup of dry lentils. Lentil until we go mental. Tuna, I guess so. Let's use 2/3 of it. I think that's much more sensible than using the whole thing all at once. Okay, everybody, we are hitting that point in the tomato sauce viscosity where if you were to go ahead and take a look, it's about to start splashing up. The thicker that it gets, the more that it really splashes, and that's when we have to really reduce it. Are we trying for half lentil, half lamb? I guess so, in a way, Turina. Well, not Turina, for Trash Can Cat Mom. But I don't really know what half lentils would actually be. Would it be by volume? Would it be by weight? I don't know. If it's by volume, then 1-to-1 is actually quite close. A cup of lentils kind of looks like a pound of lamb by volume. Right? If it's by weight, though, that would be way too many lentils, though. I don't really know how much that weighs. We could weigh it out. We could see how much it weighs. But right now, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cool it off as much as possible so that we can properly mix it into the meatball mixture without melting the fat or cooking the egg or anything like that. Scraping off the sides. Awesome. Okay, my station feels a little bit cluttered. I have some towels laying around. I'm going to once again just take a second to clean on up. Get this lid out of here, throw that into the dishwasher, because we're all done with him. Okay. I feel like half by volume is reasonable. That's a good idea. Okay, I can dump out my waste bowl as well. We're staying clean, we're staying organized. Honestly, the prep time for everything wasn't nearly as much as I thought it would be. Because we've basically done all the prep for the meatballs themselves. We've done all the prep for the sauce. The only thing that we're really missing out on is the prep for the cold can and the mashed potatoes today. And even then, that's going to be very simple. We peel some potatoes. Easy. How's everybody doing? Is everybody following along well? Everybody picking up the pace? Everybody, doing okay today? Beautiful sauce, though. Very, very excited about this. I really want to do something a lot heavier on the white wine than usual. Oh yeah. Taste that again. And it's of course going to need plenty more salt. And this sauce is not even close to being finished. Not at all. Very, very tasty. Okay. So my hesitation right now, it's just mostly coming from the fact that I am waiting for my lentils to just properly cool down. That might take a little bit more time than I anticipated. I could honestly lay them out onto like a sheet tray or something. Just to really help it to just steam up faster. I think that would be a good idea. If I have the space for it, of course. Yeah, I do. I sure do. Everybody, to help facilitate cooling down my lentils, I'm just gonna set up a sheet tray with a little bit of foil on it. And just let it steam off that way. I could run it under some cold water, but honestly, I don't want to agitate it more. I don't want to get them any wetter or anything. Sheet tray, foil. And now my lentils. Just so I can get stuff out of here, out of my business. It's a lot of lentils. I should have probably made half a cup or so. I don't think I'm gonna need this much for today. Okay, now that can properly steam off. That's going to cool down so much quicker than if I just kind of left it like that. All of these perfectly cooked lentils, a few of them burst, a few of them exploded, but guys, I love lentils. Lentils are so delicious. They're so flavorful. They're so good for you. Okay. That bad boy, she's got to cool off. And there's a few more things I can now just throw into my dishwasher, of course. The strainer I'm not going to use because for the mashed potatoes, I'm just going to use a colander. My pot, I can put into the sink safely now. Excellent. It's all coming together, my friends. What do they taste like? I've never had one by itself. You know, that's a great question. What does a lentil taste like by itself? A little bit earthy. There's a very slight grassiness to it. It just tastes meaty. It has like the sumptuousness. It has like the oomph that a really nice proper bean has, you know? Very, very tasty. Very delicious. Okay. Sauce, once again, going back in there, scraping up the sides, scraping up the bottom. You guys already know the deal. And we can, of course, hit it with a little bit more salt. But the salt we can always add at the end because we do lose a lot of volume. You don't really know how much it's going to concentrate in terms of salt. We can always, always, always adjust that part as needed. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Here's how much lamb I have. Okay, here's my panade. Now is the time where I'm going to get my hands dirty, or specifically my gloves dirty. We're going to add in, I want to say roughly a little bit more than half of the lamb, and we're going to really work it in. The rest of the lamb, guys, we're going to gently, gently, and softly knead it inside. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of some stuff. I'm going to get my cutting board out of here. I'm going to get my bench scraper out of here. I'll add my lamb, then I'll add my lentils, and it's all going to be perfect. And then we'll shape it out, and I'll show you my favorite way to go ahead and shape out a meatball. Okay, gloves. On they go. Come on, buddy. Please. Okay, thank you. Excellent. Lamb. Oh, come on, buddy. Thank you very much. Thank you. Get back over here. Okay, the rest of this, we are going to be reserving to add later on. And now as for this guy, we're really going to mix it until it gets nice and proper and bouncy. And this is going to help the meatball to really retain its shape. But the rest of the lamb is going to ensure that it's nice and soft. I think I had a lot of panade. I think this mixture is really, really soft. But guys, the more that we knead this, the more that we really mix this through, you're going to just see the texture change over time. So get it in there, and get it in there. And it smells quite excellent, I must say, with the oregano, with the garlic, with all of the Parmesan, and everything. Perfect. And it's already, with just a little bit of mixing, guys, with a little bit more kneading, you can already see it's beginning to slightly hold its shape. But it's going to need a whole lot more mixing than that, my friends. So keep mixing it, and keep it going, and keep it going. Lift it up, fold it, squeeze it, push it down, fold it. And you can see how much more cohesive it is the more that we go. And if I had to guess, that just mostly comes from, first of all, we are letting the ground beef absorb some of the liquid in there, but we're also developing almost like a slight protein mesh. The more that we fold it, right, very similar to like kind of like kneading a dough, right? The more that you slap it, the more that you knead it, the more that you develop this little protein mesh inside of it that helps it to retain its shape. Okay, okay. Oh, it's getting quite sticky now. Keep it going, guys. Keep it whipping. Keep it happening. Keep it moving. For an indeterminate amount of time, honestly, I don't think I have an exact measure if we want to stop this process. But you can see how much stickier and how much more tacky it's becoming over the time. It's holding up well. Okay. Really, really blending it all together. Oh. Excuse me. Okay. Mixing it all in. And by the way, this is why you want a bowl that is slightly too big. With all of this mixing, you can see how much it just goes up and around the sides. With anything smaller, I would not have been able to fit a glove in there by any means. Really, really properly blending in the panade into every single crevice of this mixture. Right here. All the cheese, all the oregano. Okay. I gotta say, that's looking quite good. I want to check on the temperature of my lentils. I'm going to wash my hands anyways, but it just would have been really, really sticky and really difficult if I used no glove at all. So I'm getting as much of this meat off of my fingertips now and back into the bowl. And now I'm going to go ahead and quickly wash up my hands, and we're going to check on my lentils. A little soap, a little water, of course. And we got to give the tomato sauce a stir, my friends. Remember, never leave it unattended for too long. We do not want the sauce to burn. We want it to caramelize. We want it to get nice and complex. We want it to get nice and flavorful. But we do not, by any means, want it to burn on the bottom of the pot. Okay. So, let's check that out. Let's see. Sauce. Ooh. You can see how viscous, how chunky it is, especially towards the bottom. Scrape up everything, guys. You can see how much it's sticking, and that is a good thing. You actually want the sauce to slightly stick as long as we scrape it and we put it all back inside. Really, really, truly scrape it up. You can see how much of that volume it is losing over time. Excellent. I'm very, very excited about the sauce, I have to say. And then we'll be finishing it off with the infusion of the basil and the addition of the extra virgin olive oil towards the end. But this sauce, guys, it still has plenty of time to go. It is nowhere near being a finished product at this stage. Finish scraping it off, finish scraping it off. Get it all back in there. And we, of course, give it a taste just to see how it's progressing. Guys, already the tomatoiness, even now, it is beginning to come through. Even at this stage. Very, very, very pleased with how that's going along, and I'm getting still a little bit of the wine flavor. We might add more later on. We'll see how that goes. Okay, lentils, guess what? They have indeed cooled down. They're now mostly cool to the touch. A little bit warm still, but it should be okay. And I'm going to do, let's say, half of the lentils. Okay, we got a big sheet tray of lentils. This was a cup of cooked lentils, or a cup of dried lentils when we began, excuse me. And I'm just gonna add those inside. And we're going to mix it through once again before we add in the final ground lamb. And then we'll shape it out. Wonderful. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Let's do like 2/3 of it. I really, really want to push the amount of lentils that can go inside of a meatball like this. I really want to see how much of it we can actually maximize in a meatball, guys. Okay, back to it. Gloves on. Let's mix it through. And today's a little bit of R&D. This is new. I've never done this before. Some people, I've seen them do blended lentil and meatballs. It's my first time doing it. I didn't do that much research going into this ahead of time. I just want to make sure that it is compact enough that it will all stay together. That is my most important thing that I got to look out for. Okay? So, lentils are in. Let's mix it through. We can even probably crush some of them up just a little tiny bit. We just want to work that through this mixture. There she goes. Does anybody have any questions, any comments, any concerns at this point in time? Whoop. Just get those lentils worked in, get it all spread throughout. Okay, guys, I'm looking at this amount of lentils, and I think that we can push it. I think that we can go in. I think we can go in with way more lentils than that. I'm looking at this amount, and honestly, truthfully, I can feel it in there, and I can feel it inside of the mixture. But the goal of today was to really see how much can we push the humble lentil meatball. So, let's go ahead and find out. Everybody, I think I'm going to do the entire thing of lentils. I'm going to add them all in. I'm confident that it can take it. I'm confident. I feel confident in this one, my friends. All of those lentils, all of it in, all of it inside. That is an entire cup of previously dried, then cooked lentils. I want to see how far we can actually push this. I'm looking for something special. I want it to be greater than the sum of its parts in a way. Okay? So mixing it in, mixing it in, mixing it in. This was an entire cup of dried lentils that have now gone into this filling. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. 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 Excellent. And then last but not least, my friends, we will, of course, gently knead in the rest of my ground lamb. As soon as I'm confident that all of these lentils are as mixed in as possible. And I think they are. Okay, lentils are officially inside. They're folded inside. Last but not least, guys, this little teeny tiny bit of ground lamb, just gently work it in. We want to have some fluffiness. We want some softness to this meatball as well. We don't want it to just be this over-mixed, really, really bouncy mixture. So, gently knead it in until we're confident that it is taken in as much of the other ingredients as possible. This thing is full of lentils, which is exactly what I was going for. And it is seeming to hold up its shape and hold up its texture quite nicely, which I'm very, very happy about. And now, in the future, I might experiment with, what if we grind some of the lentils? What if we blend some of the lentils? What if we do red lentils instead of green ones? There's a lot more to experiment with here. But guys, I think that I have so much meatball mixture now. We should be all set for today. Okay, and with that, my friends, I believe that my meatball mixture is all ready to go for today. There she is in all of her glory. Cheese, lamb, beef, lentils, garlic, onions, a whole 9 yards. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly throw this into the fridge, and we're going to get our meatball shaping station ready to go. I'm going to just throw this bowl into the fridge, keep it nice and cool for now. I probably stayed out at room temperature a little bit too long for my liking, if I'm being honest. I'm going to wipe down my surfaces, and we'll get the station ready. Okay, back to the sauce though in the meantime. We still got to stir up the sauce. I'm going to wash my hands though. Okay. Well, let's just stir up the sauce. Let's just make sure that's doing well. Let's make sure she's doing good. Get in there, mix it up. And guys, you can begin to see at this stage, when it does thicken enough, some of the oil begins to float to the top. When it does reduce enough, that's a very, very good sign that we're exactly at where we should be with the sauce. Scrape it up, scrape it up, scrape it up. Get it all back in there. Get it all going again. Wonderful. And we're going to make some big meatballs today. We're going to broil them before we add them back into the sauce. That's going to be wonderful. And this sheet tray, I can also go ahead and get thrown into the dishwasher. I'm very, very excited about all of it today. Okay. This guy, dishwasher we go. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, recap session. What have we done so far? We have built a lovely tomato sauce. We have in here olive oil, butter, onions, garlic, 2 cans of tomatoes went in, and a whole bunch of white wine. And we've been letting it go, and it's been cooking for just about an hour at this point, and we're going to keep letting it cook as long as the time today allows us to. We made our lentil and lamb meatball mixture for today. It has lentils, it has lamb, it has Parmesan cheese, it has garlic, it has onions, it has some pepper, it has some oregano in it, and a panade made from some leftover bread, as well as a little splash of milk. So all that we have left to do today is the following. We got to shape the meatballs. Then we're going to broil them. We're going to get a beautiful, beautiful crust on it. And then we'll finish cooking it inside of the sauce. For the mashed potatoes, we have to cook down the spinach. We're going to have to slice up the scallions. We're going to have to cook the potatoes, of course. Get all that going, get all that set, get all that happening. Mash it up and mix it together. And it's going to be delicious. It's going to be a very rustic mashed potato, hopefully. So if everybody is following along, I would like a nice universal yes chef. Please and thank you. I'm going to quickly moisturize my hands. Okay, so just making sure my station is clean. We have a lot happening. There's a lot for us to juggle. I'm going to need to get my meatball shaping station all ready to go. So what is that going to entail? It's going to be a nice big sheet tray. It's going to be a little bit of parchment paper, and it's going to be our cookie scoop. I love using my cookie scoop for things like this. So let me get that started for us. I realized I didn't get my sheet tray out ahead of time, and I've made my own life a little bit more difficult as a result. But now my sheet tray is out. She's all set. Parchment paper, that has to go on now. Although, if I am broiling, I don't think parchment paper is a very good choice. Yeah, that is not oven safe at that temperature. It is not oven safe at that point. Could be scary, right? We could accidentally light the parchment on fire. So I do think aluminum foil is unfortunately the better choice for today. And I'm really going to double line it to make sure it doesn't pop through. Make our lives a little bit more difficult that way. Something like that. Okay, wonderful. Next, the meatball mixture, as well as my handy dandy cookie scoop. Guys, I love this cookie scoop. It makes the job of shaping the meatballs very easy. It makes it very quick and it makes it very consistent above all else. This is how you get perfect balls in the kitchen. Okay? I live by my cookie scoop. I use it all the time. I use it for portioning leftovers. I use it for just about everything that honestly isn't even making cookies. It's something I picked up once at a restaurant, and now I always insist upon owning a cookie scoop. They're one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment, I have to say. Okay, wonderful. It's wax paper you gotta worry about. Pretty sure parchment can handle the heat. I'm more afraid of the parchment perhaps catching on fire rather than anything else. So, a nice thing about using a cookie scoop is because the contact is minimized with your hands, well, you don't really have to do like a cold water station or anything. We're just gonna scoop it out and then roll it out into little balls. Well, into big ones actually. It's a very big cookie scoop that I have here. And just get that set onto the sheet tray, and we'll probably cool it down until it has to go into the broiler for today. It's full of lentils, it's full of lamb. I really hope that the meatball is able to hold its shape. I hope it's able to hold its texture today. We'll just have to find out. Mixture in, pack it in, wonderful, nice and tight. Scoop it out, and then we'll roll it up into a ball in a little bit of time. It doesn't have to happen immediately. Let's see. Next one. Beautiful. Good looking mixture. Thank you very much. We made it ourselves. There you go. All of them popping out, all of them coming out. My only concern is that it might be a little bit too loose. I think I might have made too much of a panade. That is my only concern that I have at the moment with my meatball mixture. But guys, these are some big meatballs. When they're big, you're able to cook them a lot more without them drying out. Okay? So those little tiny soup meatballs, that's not what I'm looking for. I want big ones. I want them to be able to get a nice, beautiful crust on it. I want them to get some really beautiful color on it, my friends. Packed with lentils, but I think in the future, I might actually consider chopping up the lentils, because the lentils, they're just kind of dotted throughout the meatball, as opposed to really just being a part of it. But we'll see. Today's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how it ends up going. We put in an entire thing of lentils in there. It's a lot of lentils, guys. But I am very excited about it. I really hope it goes well. I want to do something fun. I want to do something creative. I want to do something a little bit new. And that was that for me today. I think meatballs, they do let you express yourself a little bit in some ways, you know? Ooh, although, guys, this is from 1 pound of ground meat and then an entire cup of dried lentils. It has really stretched the amount of meat that we're using for today, which is a benefit. Experimentation means you're not bored. That's right. Okay, I have just enough for 2 more. That's okay, Wonder Woolly. Welcome on back. Welcome on in, rather. It's lovely to have you. And then this is the one last one that we can just go ahead and shape up. Okay, that's a lot of meatballs. All we gotta do, we're gonna take it and we're just going to roll it mostly together. Pack it up. Wonderful. Take it, roll it up, pack it up. Excellent. What do? We roll it up, guys. But I think my biggest consequence of today, I might have let the meatballs get a little bit too warm. I really hope that doesn't affect the cooking too much. They're very soft. I'm going to keep them chilled until I am ready to cook them, of course. And then we'll do all of the prep for the mashed potatoes today. And we'll get that stuff sorted out. But today, guys, big experiment. I'm very excited to see how the results come out. Give them all a good amount of space from each other. We'll properly chill this out in the fridge. Oh yeah, quite soft, these guys. A little too much panade is my first thing that I have going on in my head. My first concern, for sure. But guys, look at these lovely meatballs. In fact, we got exactly 20 meatballs. Here she goes. Beautiful, beautiful. All of them portioned out, nice and even. Just going to make sure they are as intact as possible. These meatballs, guys, as long as we cook them right, they're not going to fall apart. I just don't want to agitate them too much more. Wonderful. And now, into the refrigerator. I'm gonna make a little bit of space for them. And I'm just gonna let them properly chill out until we are, of course, ready to use them. Beautiful. Very, very excited about them. Okay, everybody, we just did another big step. So what do? Of course, we take a look at our tomato sauce once again. We scrape up those edges, we scrape up the bottom, because there's gonna be food, there's gonna be all the caramelized tomatoey bits. And we add it all back into the pot, guys. We add it all back into the pot, and none of it wasted. With a really, really special sauce emerging slowly but surely over this time. Okay, we have a second of time. I'm cleaning up. I'm getting rid of stuff. I'm getting rid of some of these dirty dishes that we have no more use for. As per usual. Get that thrown in there. I know it's a lot of cleanup. I know it's a lot of steps for you today, guys. Just hold with me, hang tight, and we'll get back to the cooking in just a moment. Okay, and I gotta wipe down my surfaces, I think. Molto bene. What does that mean? Does that mean it's all good? I don't know what that means. Okay, so what do we have left to do, guys? We gotta do all of the prep for the mashed potatoes today. And so the mashed potatoes, again, really heavily inspired by a cold cannon, which is a mashed potato that's made from cabbage and potatoes and some scallions in there. And I'm gonna be doing mine in a very similar way. I'm gonna be doing it with scallions. I'm gonna be doing it with some leftover spinach that I had sitting in my fridge. I wanted something very leafy, and I wanted to be able to use up the existing leftovers that I just had kind of laying around and sitting around. That's what cooking at home is supposed to be about, guys. You're supposed to look at your fridge, and you're supposed to get inspired by what it is that you already have. It's not always about going out and buying everything that you want all the time and then being left over with a bunch of things that you don't know what to do with. It's about using your existing leftovers, my friends. So, potatoes. We need a pot to cook them in. We're gonna probably try to mash it inside of the same pot, so I'm going to get a nice metal pot for that. And we have 4 potatoes of mash that we have to go ahead and make. We're gonna have to peel it, we're gonna process it, we're going to cube it up, and then we're going to make all the different seasonings and all the other components that are going to go alongside that. So, I'm just making sure that I have my vessel for today. I'm trying to think which pot will actually fit and will actually accommodate all of my potatoes. I have this one stainless steel pot that I don't really know if it's going to fit. But we'll find out. Hopefully it will. No, it's not gonna fit. I looked at it, guys. There is no way, not in a million years, is that actually going to properly fit here. That big pot, though, instead will. Peeling potatoes is one of my favorite kitchen chores. I agree, actually. I do quite enjoy the task of peeling potatoes myself. So, everybody, 4 potatoes. To stop it from oxidizing, we're going to be putting it into a pot of cold water, which will coincidentally be the same water that we boiled them in. So I'm just gonna get my pot, I'm gonna get it filled up with some nice cold water. And we gotta get those potatoes peeled and prepped, my friends. Okay, for the Idaho potatoes, that's what I got today. That's what we're using. Let's get back over here. I'm gonna get rid of this. Gonna get rid of that. And instead, let's get my lovely vegetable peeler out for today. Wonderful. I'm gonna stir up my sauce once again. Because guys, we have all of those caramelized bits on the edges. You gotta unstick it. You gotta integrate it back in to the sauce eventually. Beautiful. Really, really good texture, guys. Really good viscosity to the sauce now. And amazing color as well. Wonderful. And I'll give the sauce a little taste. Everybody, the flavor, it is just evolving at this point, the more that we let it go. It is really, really getting there. I'm beginning to get some of the complexity. Again, ideally, 4 hours of cook time for something like this. That is not time, that's not a luxury that I have today, but that's okay. Guys, potatoes, peeler. You know what to do. Nice sharp peeler. And I'm just going to go all the way around it. And I'm going to see if I'm able to get it all off in one peel. And the answer is I'm not. Oh well. So, old-fashioned way it is. Get it peeled up, guys. Get it peeled up. Get it happening. Get it done. However you can. You just got to get this process finished. Please and thank you. And then we got to dig out the eyes. So you know what I'll do? I'll just use this. This handy little part of the potato peeler. Right, there's a little pocket of dirt inside of there that we don't want to deal with. Get it out. Awesome. See this eye? Dig it out. Excellent. And just get those potatoes peeled. Does anybody have any questions for me at this point in time about this dish, about something else? Remember, I am here to help you guys learn how to cook at home. So any and all questions, I really appreciate it. I do want to get better at peeling potatoes and apples. I want to be able to do like the full corkscrew peel all the way through. That'd be fun to do sometime, I think. Okay, that is mostly peeled. Make sure I have no more eyes left over. Oh, like over there and over here. The Y-shaped peeler is an interesting choice. I much prefer those to the L-shaped peeler. I believe that's the difference, right? The Y peeler and the L peeler. I really, really like the shape of it. Can you cook the potato peel to eat, or is it bad for you? It is not bad for you at all, Atomjin. In fact, there's plenty of different kinds of mashed potatoes that use skin on. Now, the only reason why I'm not using that for today is just because that is not the texture that I'm going for. And you can cook with it, you just have to make sure that you thoroughly, thoroughly scrub it. Because, of course, potatoes, they grow in the ground, they're covered in dirt. You really, really want to make sure it is thoroughly scrubbed if you do choose to use it. But you absolutely can. There's plenty of potato peels that you can eat. All of them, in fact. The only like vegetable peels I would say that I don't really eat like that is like butternut squash peels and like pumpkin peels. Just because I find them really too papery to do anything with. Otherwise, almost all vegetable peels, I would go. But again, for today, it's just not going to mash up very evenly. It's not really what I'm looking for. So away they all go. Ooh, guys, this potato, full of eyes. Look at it. You see all those little spots? Get in there. Carve it out to the best of your ability. Get in there and carve it out. We don't want any of those eyes inside of our final product. Get it in, out of there. Get it out. Get it out. Get it gone. Thank you. And into the cold water she goes. 2 more potatoes left. I wish I got a slightly bigger waste bowl though. This guy is filling up fast. Thanks, I never knew you could eat the potato peel. No problem. That's what I'm here for, Atomjin. Happy that I was able to help out. Okay. All the way around. All the way. All the way. Excellent. This pot is way too big for this amount of potatoes. I might switch over to the smaller one. See if that would be able to accommodate it. Okay. That's looking quite good. Let's inspect it for eyes. Oh yeah, we got something over here. Get this guy gone. Get it out of here. I don't know what he's doing tucked away so deep inside of my lovely little potato. But more or less, that should now be cleaned up. Okay, last one. And then we'll cut up the potatoes, of course. Yeah, I did not need to use a pot that was this big. I think I got something that can accommodate it. Oh well. I did not stick to my guns before. Ooh, guys, look at this potato. What is his problem? What is going on with him? Look at this. Look at this. What is your issue, man? All of that has to be just trimmed away at this point. Guys, look at this potato. Ugh, terrible. Unacceptable indeed. I don't know what he's doing out here, but we'll clean him up. We'll make him a little bit better off. Is the hope, at least. Okay. Well, the skin is gone. We're gonna have to get in there with a knife. There's no way that we'll be able to salvage that. Let's get all of these skins out of here, though. Into the trash can. Goodbye. Thank you, potato skins. You did a wonderful job of leaving the premises. Get them out. Get them out. Get them out. Get them all off my cutting board. Okay. So, as for the potato itself now, we gotta trim that bad boy up because he is looking pretty gross. I have to say, that is not a good looking potato, all things considered. So, let's trim it up and let's get it into a different pot. Something a little bit smaller, something that'll fit a little bit better. I'm going back to my sauce, of course. And guys, the sauce, it is getting so thick. It is becoming so viscous. It is becoming so delicious. I'm very, very excited about the future of this sauce. Sauce stocks are definitely up at the moment. And I'm going to try my tomato sauce. Everybody, the sweetness is really coming out now. All you needed to give it was just a little bit of time. A little bit of time, a little bit of love. And it's all set. Okay, as for my potatoes, let's process them. Let's get them trimmed. Let's get them ready to go. Where is my small little petty knife? There she is. Okay. What kind of cube am I looking for? We're just looking for a medium chunk on this potato. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice it right in half, just like so. And then I'm going to just cut it lengthwise. And a nice medium cube like this is going to suffice for today. And into my pot it goes. And we're going to do that with each and every single one of my potatoes. And we'll save the ugly one for last and see if we could somehow salvage him. And if not, then we'll make less mashed potatoes than anticipated. Take it, cut it, cube it. Wonderful, wonderful. Into the pot it goes. And guys, you want to keep these potatoes cut as evenly as possible, as consistently, so that they all cook at the same time. If you don't cut them all to the same size, they're going to all be cooking at different times. And that is going to lead you to some overcooked, some undercooked, and definitely not what you want out of a mashed potato. Okay, cube it, wonderful. I'm just saving those end pieces, they're the thinnest ones, so I can leave them in the largest volume. Okay, now, as for this potato, I don't know what his problem is. Look at him, ugly on the inside. Cut him out, cut him out of your life. Ugly on the inside, cut him out of your life. Look at it, it's still going. It still just does not stop. It does not stop. This potato, it needs a lot of trimming. Get him out. Get them all out. I'm not messing with this potato today. Okay, and then if we cut into it, I really hope that the rest of it is just fine. We'll find out though. Okay, let's take a look. I think that looks okay. That looks a little bit more presentable now. The moment of truth. We slice it in half. This is a very small knife. It's not doing that good of a job. Look at my barber dog. That's right. Okay, everybody, this potato is salvaged. And look at this one. Cut it. Also to pasta, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. Beautiful potatoes, all of them cut up and ready to go for today. I'm going to just go ahead and cover this up with some nice cold water, my friends. And that means my potatoes are officially prepped and ready to go for my mash. I'm gonna make sure they're nice and heavily covered with water. Put those away. And now, my friends, we gotta take a second to clean up my station. So, you can just watch my sauce. Make sure my sauce doesn't go anywhere at the moment. We always stay clean, we always stay concise. We make sure that we're cleaning up as we go. This pot I'm gonna have to deal with later on. I wish I never got him dirty to begin with. But really it was just some potatoes and just some water. So I could just rinse that off. No harm, no foul. Excellent. That's done. That's all set. And I'm just gonna keep cleaning up. I'm gonna get rid of any and all excess plates, any and all produce that I no longer need, any dishes. All of it's gotta go in the dishwasher, my friends. All of it's gotta be gone. Is the sauce awesome, guys? It's important. Really, really want to make sure that the sauce doesn't go anywhere. Okay. So, now we got to think about the orchestration of everything, my friends. So here's what needs to happen. My meatballs are currently sitting inside of the fridge. We're going to be broiling it. We're going to be charring it. We're going to be getting it nice and roasted, nice and caramelized on top, nice and properly seared before we add them into the sauce today. Okay? And the reason why we do that, of course, is to really just get as much of the meatiness out of there as possible, because I don't want a purely boiled meatball. Additionally, if we were to just simply pan fry them, the reason why I'm not pan frying, the reason why I'm choosing not to do so, is because it is messy and it is long and it is annoying. The oil splashes up all over the place. Okay? You know, you can only do such a batch at a time, but in my case, with the broiler, we should hopefully be able to develop a decent enough crust on all of the meatballs in one fell swoop. So, coming back in here, giving the sauce a stir. And guys, you can see, I want you all to take a look. I want you all to say, yes, chef, and take a look. Look at how much volume we lost in the sauce. Look at how much it has reduced. And that's a good thing. We want it to become nice and concentrated. We want it to become nice and sweet, my friends. And by evaporating as much of that excess liquid as possible, we have indeed achieved exactly that. A concentrated, rich, and really, really viscous sauce. Okay? So, once again, scraping up the sides, getting it all back in. Wonderful. And I'll give that a little taste once more, my friends. Again, we're just seeing how it's developing over time. We're just tasting it every so often. Guys, this sauce, this is pretty excellent. It is sweet. The white wine that is definitely in there. I'm tasting it. I might add some more later on. But right now, I just want to keep on cooking it, guys. I want to keep on cooking it. I want to get it even richer. I want to get it even more sumptuous. Ooh, that is good. That is excellent. In just about an hour and a half of cook time only, we've developed so much flavor, but you're seeing why people simply, they rush. They rush with their tomato sauces. They add in so much unnecessary additions. They add in piles of sugar when all they really needed to give it was time and love. Wonderful. Okay, everybody, we got to orchestrate this now. The meatballs need to go in and they got to broil and they got to get a nice good color on them. That's not going to take too much time at all. And if anything, it can cool down before other stuff is ready. The mashed potatoes, now that is, we're going to have to wait on a little tiny bit because we have to boil the potatoes, of course. We have to slice the scallions. We're going to quickly blanch the spinach. We're going to get it nice and softened. We're going to get it cut up. We got to mash the potatoes after, and then we have to mix it all in. So with all of that being said, I do think that we should start on the mashed potatoes and the meatballs all in the same time. So I have my potatoes. You can't see it. It is off frame. But all I'm doing is I'm putting it onto the heat, and we're going to add in a whole bunch of salt into it. Everybody, I need you all to stay listening to this part. I need you all to say, yes, chef, please, and thank you. Okay? Super, super, super important. It is about properly cooking potatoes all the way through. We start them off in cold water, and we never boil the potatoes, my friends. That is not enough. Yes, chefs, I'm only seeing one. Excuse me. So, plenty of salt, because most of it is just going to end up getting strained out anyways. Okay? So a bunch of salt goes in. An aggressive amount of salt, in fact. We just need a little bit of that salt to be able to penetrate the potato, and so it must be over-seasoned, it must be over-salted at this stage. Okay. We started off in cold water. If you were to start it off in directly boiling water, my friends, the potato is going to fall apart. The outside is going to cook before the inside of it actually gets done. The key, you bring it up to a gentle simmer and you leave it simmering until it is done. That might be 20 minutes, that might be 15 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. It all depends on the potato and it depends on the size that you ended up cooking it. Okay? You're scared. You have nothing to be afraid of the pasta. Now, I'm setting on my broiler and I'm going to allow it to heat up just a little bit before we, of course, go in with the meatballs. I'm gonna allow it to get nice and hot in there. The sauce is happening, wonderful. The broiler is heating up. And now guys, we have to do all of the prep for, of course, the mashed potatoes. So, this is not exactly a coal cannon. I'm not gonna be frying any of the components. I'm gonna make my life actually really quite simple as far as this goes. I have here an entire head of spinach. Now, the traditional method to blanch spinach, to boil it so that it is able to shrink down, is the following. You take it, you put it into hot boiling water, and then you immediately take it out. The method that I'm going to be doing today instead, my friends, is a little bit easier. It's a little bit more innovative. We're simply just going to take a kettle, we're going to fill it up with water, we're going to get the kettle of water boiling, and then we just gently pour it over the spinach. No ice bath, no pot of water, no nothing. So if all goes well, we'll have some perfectly blanched spinach by the end of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat up that kettle. I'm gonna get that going, I'm gonna get that boiling. And then my spinach station is complete and ready to go for whenever we need it, my friends. And again, all I'm gonna do is just pour that kettle of boiling water directly on top. I'm going back to my tomato sauce. I'm inspecting those sides. And I am, of course, scraping every last bit that I can back in there. Get it all back in there. All of those caramelized bits around the edges, my friends. All of it goes in. That is where the flavor of the sauce lies. My broiler is still heating up. It's getting nice and hot. It doesn't really preheat per se. I'm just trying to get the top of the oven as hot as possible for whenever we add the meatballs in. For the mashed potatoes, really only other thing that we gotta do is we gotta slice some scallions, my friends. So I got some scallions, all ready to go. And we're going to do, of course, an aggressive amount of these scallions today. I might have started on my mashed potatoes a little bit too late. I wish I started them a little sooner in retrospect, but that's okay. Scallions, you can never have too many of them. We're going to be mixing whites, we're going to be mixing greens, we're going to get everybody involved. I'm going to go ahead and quickly just trim off the bottoms on my scallion whites, and then we'll also save a few of the scallion greens for garnish at the end. So we'll slice those a little bit differently. But the whites, cut those butts off. I'm gonna save these two for garnish, or these three for garnish rather. And then the rest of them, we can cut it any way that we want, honestly. It'll be delicious no matter what, my friends. In fact, I'm just gonna stack them all up and I'm gonna slice them all really, really thin. Take it, stack it, and just slice it. And slice it, and slice it, all the way through. Just like so. Get it done, get it happening. And we'll save those on a little plate until we are, of course, ready to use them. But these are my scallions for today. Simple, got them done, in and out. And now, everybody, I believe my broiler should be ready for my meatballs. So, I have this gorgeous tray packed to the brim with these lentil meatballs, my friends. We're just gonna get it in and under the broiler, and we're going to hopefully develop the best crust that we can over this period of time. I want the top of it to be nice and browned. I want the top of it to be nice and caramelized, and hopefully it will be able to do so. So, in they all go. In it goes, my friends. In she goes. And now let's see how well they're able to do. And so I'm going to add them inside. I'm going to get them as close to the back of the oven as possible where it is the hottest. And we're going to get it nice and charred. We're going to get it nice and properly broiled. So I'm excited for that. I'm coming back to my sauce, of course, as it simmers away. Again, we never leave it unattended for too long. And the sauce is just becoming richer and richer over time. And so the meatballs, they don't have to be fully cooked at this stage. When they go into the broiler, it is only for the express purpose of developing some color, of developing some flavor on it. But they do not need to be fully cooked through at all. Sorry, just checking on something. And I'm just going to see how my potatoes are doing, make sure they're not boiling away or anything at this point either. How's everybody doing? Checking in with you guys. You guys doing good? You guys keeping up okay? Well, I would hope so. Okay. Ooh, that tomato sauce, everybody. It is actually very delicious. Wonderful. Very, very happy with how that's going so far. And then really we're just going to go ahead and we're going to blanch the spinach. We're going to get it in there. I'm going to be checking in on my meatballs from time to time, make sure they're doing well. They might be too far from the broiler, honestly, to get a crust. So I might adjust that in just a second. Yeah, that's what's going on. Very chill stream today, not too much to juggle at this point. Oh yeah, my chat is dead. That's what happened. My chat just completely, for whatever reason, my iPad today, it's not picking up the Twitch chat as well. And I don't know why that's happening. I don't think I've been getting any internet drops either. So it's just really, really odd that that's going on. I'm just gonna add a little bit more salt into the sauce, just because why not? At this point. And everybody, my water is officially boiling. So we're going to be doing the new method. Also, Shy Chica, welcome on in. I feel like I haven't seen you today much. Guys, we're going to be doing the hot water soak method as opposed to dunking the spinach into boiling water. This is so much easier. We don't have to use up an entire pot and we don't have to set up an ice bath. Somebody taught me about it and I've been using it ever since. And it is super, super simple. It is super easy, my friends. Here's all we do. Kettle with boiling water, spinach over here, and I'm going around in circles, and I'm going to stop every so often. I'm going to fold it over. I'm just going around in circles gently, slowly, not all of the water at once. Please and thank you. And for whatever reason, this is deciding to stick to the kettle today, so now it is maybe time for us to move faster. All of the water, all of the water, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it. Get it all in there. And now, hopefully, if we did this correctly, my friends, we have, indeed, a bunch of beautifully blanched spinach without needing to get an additional pot of water going or anything like that. And I'm just going to dump out all of this boiling water so that it doesn't keep steaming. I only really did this over here instead of over the sink to try and, show that you can do this. So lifting this up with one hand, lifting up a pot of boiling water essentially. Don't recommend it. Okay, there we go. Guys, blanched spinach, it's done. It is actually just that simple. It's a really, really good method, I'm telling you guys. I'm stirring up my sauce once more. Guys, look at the sauce. Come here, look at the sauce. Look at the viscosity. Look how rich, look how red the color is. And it is, of course, going to still get finished with the basil. And it is going to get finished with the extra virgin olive oil. But it is cooking away. And we're scraping up all the sides that contain all of that caramelized sauce on it, my friends. And I think I'm going to need to move my meatballs up a rack so that they can actually get nice and browned. Because I think from down there, they're not browning up super well. But guys, meatballs are looking excellent. The potatoes still just barely coming up to a simmer at this point. Ooh, wonderful. I should have started the potatoes sooner, but that is okay. That's all right. Life happens sometimes. We don't always start things exactly when we want to. Just gonna get my meatballs up a rack so they're not baking, but I really want them to char instead. I want them to get nice and properly browned, my friends, as much as we humanly can in this amount of time. We might not even brown it on all sides or anything. We might just only do the one side. Okay, that's looking good. That's happening, that's cooking along. The potatoes are still only now coming up to temperature. And then we gotta slice up the spinach and get that ready for whenever we do the mashed potato. Really nice, proper red sauce, my friends. You know? Taste that. Guys, this sauce, that is genuinely wonderful. That is delicious. Everybody, that is actually fantastic. I'm very, very happy with this. Oh my gosh. It is so simple. It is such a simple amalgamation of ingredients, and yet, most people, they don't let it cook long enough. The onions melted, you don't feel them. That's a really good sauce. I'm very happy with how that's going. Very, very happy. But we really gotta babysit those meatballs, guys. Again, only thing we're doing at this stage is we're just building a crust on them. We're building up that crust, and hopefully, it's gonna be nice and properly sealed. I'm just gonna make some space for whenever we gotta take the meatballs out of the broiler. Oh yeah. Guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, those meatballs look good. They look good. I'm happy. I'm impressed. I'm pleased, I must say. The spinach has wilted and blanched properly. We got all that stuff cooked down. So much easier than doing that in a whole pot and everything. I'm very happy about this. Just keep that stirring because we have all of that sauce, especially up the sides, that we gotta get back in. So scrape it up, get some of the fresh sauce in there, scrape it up. Really, truly concentrating this. It's thickening, wonderful sauce. No need for any starches to thicken the sauce either. None of that nonsense. Again, ideally, 4 to 6 hours in an oven. That would have been an optimal sauce. This guy, no such time today. We are burdened by the logistics of running a cooking show, that is. So we don't have those kinds of privileges. Okay, this sauce though, I am going to quickly take it off the heat. Because everybody, it is time for us to take a look at those meatballs. It is time for us to get in there, and some would even say, give them a little flip. If you're excited to see them, I want to hear a nice yes, chef. Please and thank you. I want some big, juicy, delicious meatballs that have a nice, good brown crust on it, hopefully developing. So let's take a look. I got them right here. They're getting a little bit golden. They're beginning to get a little bit cooked. Okay, honestly, guys, I think I'm just going to rotate them, and I'm going to go ahead and put them back in. Because on this side, I don't have as much of a crust as I would like yet. So give them a little 90 or 180 degree rotation and put them back in just for a little bit longer. Make sure that they're cooking up evenly. I don't think the edges are going to cook that nicely, but that's okay. Ooh, they got lentils in there. They got so much flavor. It'll be really, really delicious. It'll be really special, is my hope. And we'll garnish it with like some of the smallest leaves of the fresh basil and everything too. My potatoes have come up to a boil. So you know what I do, guys? I drop it to a simmer and I set a timer for about 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes on, tomato sauce happening, meatballs inside of the oven. We got so much stuff going on. You'd stick a thermometer in there. Well, Ron, if you do, the key target temperature after it's done cooking in the sauce, about 145, 150 or so at absolute maximum. Now, we have a job to do, my friends. I have all of this delicious spinach that we have to go ahead and get cut up, just ever so slightly shredded, so that we can go ahead and make the mashed potatoes with them. But they're still really hot. They mopped up a lot of that liquid. So I'm just kind of letting them steam off for just a second. My potatoes, they're simmering along. Tomato sauce is looking good. Stir that bad boy up once again. Just again, really becoming properly concentrated. Okay, meatballs. Let's check on them again. Let's see what we got with them. Potatoes are gently simmering, just really gently cooking. That's it. That is a much better crust this time around. Everybody, we're going to give them a flip just so that we can hopefully facilitate the best crust that we can. We don't have to really worry about them losing too much temperature. Again, we're only broiling them. We're only just churning them up ever so slightly. So give them a little flip. Give them a little flip, my friends. Give them a little flip. And they're actually holding together really, really well. I'm actually surprised by how well they're holding together, my friends. But try your best not to squeeze them too much when you flip them. If you squeeze them too much, they can and will fall apart. And you do not want your meatballs to fall apart, my friends. But that is a nice, proper brown crust on them that we have going so far. Oh, come on, baby. Please, thank you. And it's not sticking. The meatball itself, it has plenty of fat. The bottom of the sheet tray is not all that hot, so it's not really cooking that much on the bottom of anything. Beautiful. One by one, loaded with lentils, loaded with flavor. Very, very happy about how this is progressing. And then we'll get him back inside. We'll get him back inside. We'll get him cooking again. There she is. Well, you can see the lentils in them. Are they going to be kind of crunchy? Well, no, we did cook them ahead of time, Jem. If we didn't cook them ahead of time, there was no way that those lentils would actually get cooked through. This was an entire cup of dried lentils to a pound of meat. These are effectively over 50% lentils by volume, not by weight. So we'll see how well that comes out. I'm excited about it. Okay, sauce, once again. Get back here. The sauce, honestly, guys, at this point, any amount of cooking I do is going to be somewhat arbitrary. Let's season the sauce. Let's season it. How do we season it? Don't forget, extra virgin olive oil. Beautiful, fresh, ready to go. Good couple of glugs go inside. Then, everybody, some fresh basil has to infuse as well. Where's my fresh basil? There she is. And we're just going to go ahead and get a nice big thing of fresh basil, and it only needs about a few minutes to infuse, my friends. And then we'll have a beautiful sauce, okay? So, get some fresh basil. I'm going to probably, well, not you, man. Get back over here. Thank you. I don't need that much. Okay, this guy goes in. Lovely. Give it a few minutes. Let it infuse. Let it all infuse. The fresh extra virgin olive oil and the fresh basil. It only needs a few minutes like this, guys. Okay, my potatoes, they're cooking along. They're looking wonderful. My spinach, it has now fully drained. I'm going to just squeeze out the excess liquid, and we're going to be cutting the spinach into slightly smaller pieces for the mashed potatoes today. I don't want any of that spinach water. I want it out of here. So away she goes. Ooh, I should have probably worn more gloves today. My hands, I can feel them getting quite sensitive. Okay, guys, spinach, really easy, really simple what we got to do with them. We're just going to go ahead and cut up the spinach. And then just going to get mixed inside of the final mash. Now, if I had better form, I would have had a separate pan going where I'm heating up the milk for the mashed potatoes today. But honestly, I'm not going to go through that much trouble. I'm not going to go through that much effort. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do with the spinach. I'm going to intentionally keep it in pretty big pieces. I just wanted to cut it through so that we don't have any whole leaves or anything. But very, very big pieces of spinach is what I am shooting for today. So, getting that out of here. Everybody, I can smell the meatballs under the broiler. I can smell like some of the fat hitting the flame on top. I can probably get rid of my sauce once and for all now, because I think that sauce is done and ready to go for today. And now, let's see the meatballs again. Oh yeah, everybody, they got a really good crust on it. Maybe needs a little bit more time on that side, but the smell of it is really similar to that of a kebab, right? Because it's getting nice and smoky in there at the moment. It's cooking, the fat is hitting the flame on top of the broiler. And so these meatballs, my friends, okay, they will need some more time. I just looked at them. They need a little bit of extra time. That's okay. We'll let them go. We'll let them do their thing. A few more minutes, and then it should be all set. Mashed potatoes. That's all happening still. We have so many components that we need to be juggling all the time here, guys. We have so much happening. So, all I'm really waiting on at the moment, I want to wait for those meatballs to get up there. I want my potatoes to finish cooking along. I'm going to just quickly stab it with a little knife and see just how tender the potatoes are. And the answer is the knife is not going through them yet. So they still need a few more minutes of cook time. Gently stir them along. Stir up my sauce as well. Guys, that sauce that I made, that is to die for. That is exceptional. Finish with the basil, it's very fresh. Oh yeah, my potatoes, they still got some time on them. I don't have to worry about them too much. I can put my olive oil away. And guys, we can just take a second and clean up. We've been doing so much, we've been doing so much juggling. We've had so many different components all at once. Only thing that we got to babysit right now is the meatballs, of course. And I've been saying meatballs way too many times today. But honestly, everybody, I think now, oh yeah, we can pull them out. It is time for the meatball reveal. So, come with me. Gonna go ahead and take them out. Gonna just quickly fold up my towels. Guys, I think broiling them as opposed to baking them, so much better. I'm able to get quite a good crust on them all at once. Oh, wonderful. Some of them golden, some of them glistening. Not the most even. I think my sheet tray is a little too wide for that. But everybody, I gotta say, I'm very happy with how these are coming out. Very, very pleased. None of them sticking. Look how well all of them are holding together. Guys, this is a meatball. I need you all to appreciate, really quickly, the absurdity of this. This is a meatball that is effectively half made of lentils. Oh, traditional European style. Oh yeah, especially with the mashed potatoes too. Look at them. They're holding up exceptionally well. Now, I don't need them to be fully cooked at this stage. Ideally, I would only finish cooking them inside of the sauce. But I do want to taste. I do want to see how the smallest meatball did and to see if it's actually really finished or anything. Okay? But guys, I gotta say, very happy already with the texture of them. That is half the battle. I'm cutting it in half. Oh, guys. Guys. I think that's a nicely cooked meatball, I have to say. A little low on salt, but the bites of lentil in there. Low on salt for sure, but oh my gosh. That's good. That's really good, in fact. The texture is ideal. The texture is wonderful. That is a very, very special texture. Now, only thing is, probably a little too long. I'm gonna cut into one more. But look how nicely it stays together. Cut that bad boy in half. Look at that juicy meatball. Look at that juicy meatball. Stop beeping at me. I know that my potatoes are done. I just want you guys to see how juicy this meatball is. That is perfect. I think I boiled it too long. I wanted to finish in the sauce. It does not need sauce finishing now. That is good. Guys. I gotta say the lamb, not that pronounced. I feel it a little bit. But you can make this guys, this is so optimal. I might do this all the time now. You just really need to double up on the salt because you have all of those bland lentils going in. That's a good meatball. I know I'm just eating this with my hands like a, no, but I am pleased with it. Although, in the future, I think I definitely want the lentils mashed in a little bit. But otherwise, I can't complain. They got a good crust. They got a good crunchiness. I'm not going to finish cooking them in the sauce. Red lentils will be the next thing that I try out. Absolutely, trash can cat mom. Okay, so that is perfect. That I'm very, very happy about. It does not need to go back into the sauce or anything. These guys are good. We can probably serve them just as is. But right now, my friends, we got bigger fish to fry. Specifically, my mashed potato. Just making sure my potatoes are soft. Making sure that they're cooked. They could probably use another minute or so. But you know what that means, guys? It means we can clean. It means we can get rid of all the stuff that we're not using anymore. Especially this cutting board. We're all done with that. But yeah, the lamb I wanted specifically because I thought it would be really nice with like a little bit of extra gaminess. Since otherwise, you know, the lentil itself, the lentil is not the most flavorful food in the world, right? It would just be kind of bland by itself. Okay, guys, here's what needs to happen. We have my potatoes done cooking. We need to season it. We need to add butter. We need to add plenty of milk. Can I get those guys out of the fridge now? And I want, of course, a little bit of butter. I'm not looking for like a very rich pomme puree or anything today. Okay? So, here's what's gonna happen. First step, we're gonna strain off those potatoes. I'm gonna strain them off, get them out of here, get them gone. Gonna get them into that bowl that we have, that colander rather. So, away she goes. Again, I don't know why I'm doing this here and not over my sink, where it would be infinitely less messy and infinitely easier, but anything for the camera, I suppose, guys. Okay, strained, done. Mashed potatoes, they can become a lot. There's like a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of components. But let's keep it up. Potatoes, strained them, drained them, adding them back in, of course, into the pot. Wonderful. This bowl, as good as gone now. No use for it. It did its job. Strainer, you did your job too. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, now we have to do a little bit of transferring. We have to move some stuff around really quickly, okay? Because I got the sauce, I got these meatballs, they all got places to be, and I don't have enough space to do the mashed potatoes. So, that guy is gonna go over there. You are going to go over here for now. My pot of potatoes over here. We have rearranged it successfully. Okay, now guys, we need milk. How much milk? I don't know. I'm just gonna add in a little splash. I am, however, looking for a slightly thicker mashed potato, relatively speaking. How much butter? A good couple of chunks, I gotta say. So, to the stove we go. Butter in. Next, big glug of milk, and then we will lastly mix in the spinach and the scallions. 1 glug, 2 glugs of milk. Salt, big pinch goes in. Get it nice and seasoned. And then we mash it up. And guys, we don't want a perfectly smooth mash for today. This is supposed to be a little heterogeneous in its texture. We're gonna have little bits of spinach. We're gonna have little bits of scallions inside of it as well. So just get it done. Get it processed. Get it happening. Push it all the way through. Push it all the way through. Push it. Just want to get rid of any and all big pieces of potato. And if at any point ever feels too dry, we can always add in a little bit more milk, but we can't ever take any away. Just a whole bunch of butter, a whole bunch of milk inside. But I want it chunky today, my friends. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, 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 there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Wonderful. Mix in the butter, mix in the milk. Guys, look at that mashed potato. It's a little bit too dense still, okay? So what do? Another glug of milk, of course. 1, 2, beautiful. Mix it in, mash it in to the best of our ability. And again, I want it slightly chunky today, my friends. I don't want every single bit of potato mixed in or anything. I want a slightly chunked up mashed potato. There you go, there you go, there you go. That's it. That's looking excellent. That texture is looking divine, if I may say so myself. And now, taste it for salinity. Taste it for salt, taste it for butter, see what else it's going to need before we add the rest of those components in. Okay? Give it a little taste. I'm sorry about the chat today, guys. I know I'm not keeping up with you all. I'm missing a few messages. Wonderful. Very simple, very home-style mashed potato, okay? Very, very, very tasty stuff. So delicious. Very, very nostalgic for me. Okay. And now, my friends, last but not least, all of the spinach goes in and most of the scallions. The rest of it is going to be for garnish. Again, not exactly a cold cannon. Nothing is fried. We're just adding the vegetables directly in. And that's going to make it very, very delicious. So just take it and fold it in to the best of your abilities. I know that might not be appealing to some of you, but I want the nice little vegetal bite in my pile of mashed potatoes. I think that's very pleasant. I find that to be very, very pleasant. Very similar probably to the texture of a potato skin. If I really wanted to, I could have kept the potato skins, but they were looking a little bit gnarly by that point, I have to say. Mix it in, mix it in, mix it in. Wonderful. Let's taste that mash, guys. I want it salty. I want to be able to taste the scallions. I want to be able to taste the spinach now. I'll just have it directly from the spoon. Like a loaded baked potato. Guys, that's delicious. Very, very happy with that. I cannot complain. I would not be allowed to complain. If everybody's still watching and I want to hear one with your chef, you know what time it is? It's time for us to plate. The meatballs are done. The mashed potatoes done. The sauce is done. Never thought about adding spinach to mash. It sounds like a great idea. Oh yeah. I used up an entire head of spinach. I love using up entire heads of spinach, as you guys may know. Let's get this all plated up. Okay, so let's do the meatballs and let's do the mash. Let's first do the least exciting bit. First, the mash. How do we do it? We're gonna do it very classic style, okay? I'm gonna get a nice big bowl. I'm going to make a little divot. I'm gonna make a little indentation. And in there, I'm going to simply put in a really nice, proper mound of butter and then garnish the top of it to hell and back with scallions. So guys, look, I want a mountain. I want something that I can take a photo of after, even if it's not the most convenient for eating, damn it. Okay? I want a proper behemoth of a mountain of mashed potatoes. Okay? Something like this. Something like this. Now it's getting very difficult to do that all with just one hand. So, There we go. Back to it. Wonderful. I want something dramatic for today, my friends. Okay, I think that is properly dramatic. That is looking good. I'm now going to just make a little indentation to the best of my ability with a clumsy spatula. Add in a nice chunk of butter right to the center of it. Hopefully we'll be able to get it melted a little bit so that we can take a good photo of it. And then scallions all the way up and around the mash. So hopefully, guys, with a little bit of luck, the butter is going to properly melt in. We give it a little bit of luck. We give it a little bit of patience. We'll see how that goes. Okay, as for the meatball plating, let me get rid of this butter. Let me get rid of this knife. We got a few steps for that guy. We're going to make it nice. I'm making a bit of a mess in my kitchen because I'm just trying to get it all done at this point. So I want a little plate. I want meatballs. I want Parmesan cheese. And then I want little teeny tiny baby basil leaves. Okay, that is what I'm envisioning. So let's see. Am I also going to use a blue plate? Let me see if I have anything better. This blue bowl, my only issue with it is it's just, oh, maybe this guy. Okay, hold on. I got this guy. But I don't think that's going to be able to fit meatballs quite well. You'd be surprised, given how the plate actually looks. Fine, we're going to do it in this one. Okay, everybody, I'm going to add in my beautiful sauce. Get this mash out of here. I'm going to add in my beautiful sauce. Get a nice, generous ladle of that. Okay? It's red, it's rich, it's flavorful, it's aromatic, has the flavor of the olive oil and the basil in it and everything. I'm going to add in just 3 meatballs. 1, 2, and 3. Nice little proper plate of that. Okay, now, how do we actually really take this guy over the top? Do I do basil leaves first and then Parmesan cheese on top? Or do I do Parmesan first and then basil leaves on top? I think the basil leaves on top first. So I'm going to get a bunch of very, very tiny, my cutest, most pristine baby leaves of basil. Although, in the center would be good. I don't know, we'll find out. Basil, 1, basil, 2. It is getting lost without the contrast. I think we're gonna have to do it after the Parmesan cheese. Okay, block of parm. Where did she go? Where did I put her? Excellent. Microplane, let's grate it on. Just enough to give it a little bit of texture, okay? A little bit of that saltiness. That's what we're going to want on there. But not so much that we can't see the meatball underneath. I think that's appropriate. Okay, finishing touch. Now we do the basil leaves, hopefully. Okay. Basil. 1, 2, 3. Maybe a little too small on those leaves. But guys, I think that's good. I think we're done. I think we're all set. I have a pile of mashed potatoes and 3 meatballs. So I'm going to do a little recap session. I'm going to then take a photo and then we're going to taste it. If everybody's still watching, you know what I need to hear? I need to hear a nice resounding chef, please. And thank you from each and every single one of you. Okay, what do we have here? This is my meatballs and sauce, but it's not just any meatballs and sauce. This is a tomato white wine sauce. Onions, garlic sauteed in butter and olive oil. Tomatoes go in, white wine goes in. It's stewed down for 2 hours. We finished it with some fresh olive oil and some fresh basil right on top. Meatballs. These are half lamb, half lentil meatballs, my friends. Okay, it is 50% by volume, pure lentils. extra protein, extra flavor in there. It has Parmesan cheese, it has a panade, it has some onion, it has some garlic, it has some oregano, it has some salt, and it has some pepper in it as well. This is a big, beautiful pile of mashed potatoes. It is Idaho potatoes, a little bit of milk, a little bit of butter, and then a whole lot of spinach, an entire head of spinach that we cut in and folded inside, with a whole bunch of scallions as well. And now, because I am trying to take better photos for content's sake, for Twitter's sake, it's all about the game, baby, okay? It's all about the photos for me right now. I'm sorry. Just take a second, get a few of those done. And then, of course, the meatball. Get a little bit more light in there. Oh yeah, that's the shot. Okay, that's it. That's enough of that. Everybody, it's time for us to taste. First, the meatballs, please and thank you. Hopefully, fork tender enough. And yes, they are. Get a meatball drenched in sauce, please and thank you. And cheers. Mmm. 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 That's delicious. That's wonderful. It's flavorful. The sauce comes through, the fresh basil. Meatball itself, a little overcooked. I boiled it too long. And the lentils, I think I want it mashed up for the next time. But there's a very, very tasty meatball. And it's a blank canvas. There's so much more I can do with it. Mmm. Mashed potatoes. Gargantuan pile of it, in fact. Look at that. I'm just gonna eat it right out of the communal vessel for some reason. Okay. Ah. Mmm. Mmm. That speaks for itself. Mmm. That's delicious. That's wonderful. And your mashed potatoes, they don't have to remain just pure potatoes. You can have so much fun with it, with what you can put in, what you can load it up with. Mmm. That is excellent. This is delicious. And just a nice way to get some more spinach into you after eating 4 potatoes. But everybody, that's it. I'm pretty happy about how this all came out today. I think I'm pretty successful in it all. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for stopping by. Next stream is, of course, going to be next week, Sunday, 5 p.m. EST, as always. If you'd like to support the show, exclamation mark Patreon, exclamation mark tip or donate, or you can also go ahead and sub on Twitch as well. The stream inspires culinary thoughts. That's the goal, Gonzine. I wanted to push the meatball. I wanted to load it up with lentils. It was very, very good. Just need a little bit less cook time, I think, and then we'll be solid. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being a part of the show. It's amazing to have each and every single one of you with me. Once again, I'm going to be live next week, Sunday, 5 p.m. EST, as always, and I will see you all then. Take care. Be well.